Start the stream off, shall we? Let's do that. Yeah. I can start whenever I like. Doesn't matter. It's my show. How do everyone? I'm not really trying today. So sorry. Oh, I'm a bit distorted here. Let me bring that down so we're into some sort of. There we go. Oh, still too loud. See, I haven't got my audio set up, so I'm peaking like a mofo here. That should be about right, but I'm way too. I need to compress my audio. Well, I'm supposed to be able to hear you, but my audio is not picking up. Let's just double check that. It went to default, which is my headphone socket, but it wasn't doing anything. Say something now, guys.
Hello, test 1, 2, 3.
Yes, people can indeed hear you. Now I've got to do some.
I said a hip, a hop, a hippie to the hip hop, and you don't stop the rockin' to the bang bang boys.
Yeah.
It's probably a little poppy, yeah.
Oh no.
Let's see if we can get you guys organised. So yeah, it's one of those weeks, isn't it? Could have been worse, I suppose.
How's everyone's first day of don't leave the house going?
It's been 2 weeks for me. I'm bored. I'm going crazy in here.
Same week and a half for me, and I got fired in the meantime.
Why?
Service sector is fun. Service sector in Serbia is literally falling apart.
I'm
just fine. It's no difference to me.
Well, my
it's not really.
My country's probably going to extend this quarantine to May, so I'm going to go even crazier.
Yeah.
I haven't left my house in 2 weeks. I'm bored.
It's not really comparable, but I'm a 0 hours contract, so pretty much no work for me there. But local Tesco is like they're doing emergency hiring at the minute, so like apparently you don't even go through the proper channels. It's like, oh, you're willing to work with like hundreds of panic buyers like crowding you every day? Yeah. And then if I get sick, I get the statutory sick pay, which is better than my 0 hours contract situation at the minute. So, it's a win-win, I guess.
Well, this is what happens when they turn people that were normally employees, like, maybe a decade ago, and turn them into self-employed. And this is where it's all going wrong. This is the bit that it's all going wrong. Because they're now kind of going, well, I'm not liable for you anymore. And it's like, oh, what? But aren't you coming back into work? No, I found another fucking job, you cunt.
I
wouldn't say
literally
as exact words, but I share the sentiment.
Yeah.
Okay, but one thing that's getting me, Robin, is he's saying, like, Bojo's saying that we're going to be kicking the virus in like 12 weeks. But he's also asking for emergency powers for 2 years. Now, I'm no mathematician, but...
Yes. This is why
Also,
Big Brother Watch is curious.
Mel, quick thing.
Sorry,
in my country, we managed to get a quarantine without giving the Prime Minister all power. Everybody disagreed that, yeah, it's a problem. What the hell is up with your country and let's just give all power to the Prime Minister because we have a bit of an epidemic? I'm sorry.
What you need to do is you need to read V for Vendetta or watch the movie, because it is literally the plot to V for Vendetta. Like, has anyone else noticed this?
Oh, God, I did not think about that.
Mel,
it is.
Mel, you're literally telling me that you need to...
It's only in the movie, though, not the comic, I don't think.
But yeah, no, the giant virus, and so emergency powers were enacted. They never go away, and then they become like super Tory government. It's like, I mean, there was one twist
where... fascists. We call them fascists over here, Mel. We don't call them Tories.
The fun part for us is like in power, it's not prime minister in power, it's president who literally banned a gathering over 100 people because government cannot work with 100 people. Literally, he got all the power by just doing,
that's another thing,
which is unconstitutional in any other way. Unconstitutional, but our government is just a joke.
No, they've
banning more than two.
announced that today as well. Like literally
more than-
today, he's announced that gatherings will be dispersed by police officers.
Any gatherings of more than 2 people, actually.
Oh
Yeah.
no, we if they find you out after 6 p.m., you get fined for 3,000 euros.
Yeah, that
It's
we're
fine, we're
introducing
doing
fines here as well. And also in America, even though the right to assemble is in their constitution, which is a bit odd.
It is a
Well,
funny. It is a funny bunch. What most people don't write in their constitution because it's so fucking obvious. They have to put it down. They kind of go, "See, aren't we brilliant?" And I'm like, kind of going, "Dudes, we have laws against speech because free speech is assumed." You know.
Mm.
I think to me the funniest part was when they told people not to go to the pub. Some people were saying, "Oh, now the UK is under martial law." It's like, no, it's not. You're just being advised not to go to the fucking pub and get infected. It's like the UK has never had any common sense ever.
No. Well,
it's
first of all, you've got to understand that these twats that are going into these pubs are the idiots. The majority of people in the UK,
COVID-idiots.
yeah, if you imagine the majority of the people in the UK are actually doing the lockdown thing and spending most of their time getting very annoyed at people who aren't. That's kind of what's been going on, as far as I can see. The fact is that you can't just
hitting chavs.
Yeah, your average human beings are sitting there kind of going, "Oh shit, we best do something about this." Morons, however, think, "Oh, I don't give a fuck. Oh, if I get the disease, I'll get the disease." And then they die and kill a few other people along the way. Ha! Who cares, huh? You know, this is the laissez-faire attitude that a lot of people have. That doesn't mean we're all like that, though.
No. You're right. The problem for us that we have issues now because elderly people are totally banned from going out.
Well,
Even
that wasn't really they weren't really big party goers in the first place, mate. So it's not a massive strain on their.
I don't know.
But there is a problem now.
Bingo every now and then.
And they go and buy bread and stuff like that. They're totally banned from going outside. And the problem is now they cannot pick up their pension, and there is whole kerfuffle about it. Like literally, what our government is doing is totally fucking insane and on the whim, without any regrets on like humans or human needs.
Well, this is the underpinnings of the, let's say, after effects, or at least, let's say, side effects of having a laissez-faire government institution running your country. Because the first thing they think of doing...
two different sides.
Yeah, the first thing they think of doing is nothing. That's the initial thing. What if we just leave it? What's the worst that can happen? What, loads of people who vote for us are going to die? Okay, we best do something about this then.
Or as Boris Johnson put it, we should actually let the virus spread and get 60% of the population infected.
Yeah, have you noticed he's changed his tune on that one suddenly, you know?
Well, yeah, it's something to do with that curve being a lot steeper than Italy's curve was, and we're not taking the same protective measures as them, even now.
Well, what angered me...
My country's more competent than yours, Mel.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Don't worry. Your country actually... I've been listening to some of the stories coming out of Italy, and to be honest with you, 10,000 people escaping those quarantine zones because the newspapers gave them the information ahead of time. Yeah, those people are fucking idiots. And they've probably killed thousands of people because of that. So there's plenty of stupidity on all sides of this.
I'm saying the government is more competent than yours because they've gone, we have a problem. Let's do something about it.
But you didn't.
UK, the government goes...
No, you didn't.
Yeah,
your government didn't. Your government literally didn't. That was the problem. They took too long about it, same as ours.
The funny
not exactly the same as Britain, though. Sorry. Sorry.
Go on, Bakra.
As far as this whole idea of the emergency powers for Boris Johnson goes, there is at least some regard in the fact that he's facing a little bit of a revolt on that. I'm not sure it's going to be much, but there is a bit of a pushback at the idea of him being 2 years.
A bit. Well, that'll do.
bit.
So all we need is a bit of pushback for
Certainly
Boris.
and certainly Big Brother Watch are doing a whole letter campaign about it, and a lot of big groups like Amnesty International have signed their name to it.
Oh, that should do it. A petition.
Now, our country is built on strongly worded letters. Do you remember the Magna Carta?
Yes.
Speaking of stupid idiots. Hi, everybody. How's it
Here
going?
he is.
Hello, Pascal.
I'm here.
Hey, my favorite. Well, actually, I can't say my favorite Canadian because my partner's Canadian. But my top 10.
The funniest,
she didn't even go
what I
with
wanted to add
second.
is-
She just went, well, you're in the top 10. You know, how many
Canadians are awesome.
Have you do you know at least 11 Canadians? Is this what we're saying here? And one of them's just real douchebag.
Well, I mean, yes.
I don't want you to name names.
I will
It's not
concede that
Pascal,
I will concede that Melody's partner is better than I am.
I'll concede to that too. One of the things I wanted to disassemble was the fucking idiocy of the supposed science chief of the UK saying that if we just let this virus sweep across us, then we will have what were they called it, herd immunity. This is somebody who has zero idea what herd immunity means. Everyone getting it is not immunity. That's
Robin,
that's
remember...
herd catching a virus that will kill them all.
Now, Robin, remember when we all spontaneously became immune to the flu and the measles and the smallpox?
Yeah,
so...
that.
Robin, quick question. Why was this man put in charge of the scientific community of the UK?
They voted him in. This is how it works, you see. We don't have experts anymore. We have popularity. That's the way that we get things done. You don't want to have a prime minister in charge of a country that might know how to run a country. No. What you need is a guy who you could have a drink with. That's what you want in charge of an entire country. Yeah. You want a man who's spent his entire life working out a way to become prime minister, not a person who's spent their entire life working out how to be a prime minister.
And zip wires across London.
At least we're doing better than Trump, who honestly seemed to believe that regular flu jabs could tackle this.
The guy thinks malaria fucking medication is going to work.
Malaria medication with a combination with antibiotic that is really ravaging your heart or something like that.
Well, look, the American political structure is sort of dependent on the fact that once you get tested for COVID-19, the best thing to do is to go to the gym and then to spread it around amongst your peers who are trying to keep government afloat. And
just lick people wherever you see them.
Exactly.
Oh, speaking of which, have you heard about the COVID challenge?
Oh, that's the one stupid person.
Jesus, what on earth is this?
It's a person on TikTok who was leaking not shell of the toilet shell, or how do you call it in English?
Shower
the
gel.
Plastic over your toilet seat.
Yeah, of an airplane.
And she was like, hashtag COVID challenge.
These die. These people, the thing is that, we're just going to have to let a few of these people go.
Your accent was so thick, I didn't understand what you were talking about.
The signs simply aren't working for such people. We put signs up for these people who would complain because nobody put a sign up. Well, we've got the sign up now and you're still fucking being a moron. Now what?
Oh, no. Do you want to hear of one moronic thing that came from our government? Literally,
Sure.
First case of COVID that happened, our president and a doctor who is a viral doctor came on TV and he said that this virus is a joke and that our women should go to Italy to buy stuff because everything is on sale. That was literally what
that does not sound like a person who is any scientific background at all. They sound like just basically some
fucking idiot. Yes.
Yeah.
But he works as a doctor. Fun story.
Where did he get
hang
his
on a
doctor
second.
from?
Yeah, what
then-
doctorate is this? You know, it may turn out that he's just a mathematician or something.
No, he is not doctorate. He is a doctor.
Of what?
He is. Let me see.
Doctor
is
Fun.
Chiropractor?
No.
No.
Turns out he sells
He-
silver
let me
colloid.
Doctor Disco.
One of the things that I was thinking of doing is suggesting to 4chan that the cure to COVID-19 is Tide Pods, and then I could make a small investment on the stock market towards Tide. Maybe.
Why are you trying to make Tide money? Surely it should be charming.
Okay, so he is lungs. How do you say the Latin?
Doctor of the lungs? Doctor of the
For the breathing system, lungs and
Pulmonary? Respiratory?
Cardiovascular.
Anaesthetist?
No, anaesthetist, no.
cardiovascular disease.
There's ear, nose, and throat,
Lungs.
perhaps.
The problem is like his specialty is like kids' asthma.
Kids' asses. Or did you say
Asthma.
right,
Asthma.
okay. I was about to say. You
Sorry.
know, I didn't realise
he's
it's...
If I'm breaking up,
No,
just...
I just thought he was Catholic, that's all.
So
No. He's not. He's Orthodox.
he's a specialist of the respiratory system, and he's
Yes.
saying this shit.
So apparently the world's coming to an end, and I'm fine.
Ah, Pug.
Your plans are
Yes,
coming to into fruition, finally.
I love that REM song. It's
Genuinely impressive because this is something that is killing all the people but not the animals.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, that is the thing. Have you noticed the weather has been fantastic since humans stopped, like, doing human stuff?
I mean, it is somewhat coincidental that it is March. You know, it's just...
You can't even blame me because this time it was bats.
Yeah, but this is like globally. Like, I think like pollution levels have actually gone down since most of like humanity has been out of action,
Yeah,
and it's like it really says something about us as a species, doesn't it?
Mel, that's actually true. In London, someone actually did take the readings and found that the pollution did go right down after London went pretty much into lockdown.
Well, you know, my mum put it this way, that like nature was just sick of us and was like, well, you know, go to your room, bucko. And yeah, I don't know. Humanity's having a timeout, and the planet's benefiting from it.
Yeah, we're all on the Earth is on the naughty stare today.
Who's the real virus, guys?
I'm well trained for this scenario. Avoid people? Okay.
Well, you're legally obliged to, so.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't understand this whole thing about, oh, well, you know, it could have psychological implications staying at home all the time and just being on the internet. It's like, nah.
That's you just got to get over the hill of that, and then you're into, you know.
Well, you know, that's what video games are for. That's simulating going outside. That's
The truly fun part to me is all the assholes who are more worried about their money than the whole people dying part.
Well, interestingly, if we do go into a recession, then, well, that does cause a lot of people to die as well.
Yeah.
Technically.
I mean,
but
when people make when people make money, they call it.
A shitload of people die. That also causes recession.
Yeah, well, the thing is that the money does actually matter. I mean, that's why people call it a living when they're making money, because it's the thing that keeps them going. And looking at, say, I don't know, our own government or yours, it does seem like, oh, if you don't have any money, haha, sucks to be you. Bye. Enjoy that death. So you can understand why people might be a little concerned.
I was kind of
back in
because I was kind of maybe facing eviction. I managed to get some money to them, and they seem to have changed their tune since they're saying emergency legislation is coming out to ban evictions. But still, it's kind of like
yeah. I don't really understand that particularly thing because how long are you going to block those evictions, and aren't they just going to evict them the moment they can anyway, because that's a bill they still can't pay?
Well, the thing is, it's like this started because they put a freeze on mortgages, which is fine for homeowners and landlords, but for renters, basically, landlords are keeping all of the rent, and a lot of renters, where it's not out of choice. It's because
they didn't even fucking do that here. They just told people to stay home.
Yeah.
As far as this whole thing about how I'm gonna go doolally if I have to stay indoors, what's everyone complaining about? This is the easiest thing in the world to do. Just staying indoors, staying at home, doing nothing.
Speaking of which, Stanley Parable is free at the moment. They've made it completely free. So if you're a Windows user, you can download it. If you're a Mac like me, you're thoroughly regretting the machine that you bought.
There's been a bunch of Steam games that have been doing that.
Really?
What?
Drawful 2 was free for a while. I don't know if it still is.
Watchdogs is also free. If you happen to be a landlord who's trying to serve eviction notices during this particular time, I think that you should probably be dragged out into the street and beaten within an inch of your death.
I'd agree with that.
Pascal understands me.
I was about to say, you're becoming Luca, Pascal.
The other thing is that if you happen to be able to pay your rent and you have that liquidity, you should be doing so. I don't like this. There was an individual by the name of Philosophy 2 who decided to try to start this campaign where he would, with like 5,000 patrons under his belt, abstain from paying his rent with some sort of a stand towards landlords. Now, not all landlords are going to be pricks during this time. A lot of them have employees under them. A lot of them need that liquidity to pay these employees and to keep services afloat. And if people start putting pressure onto like economic systems, it's just going to make it harder for everybody.
Well, the problem is that everybody's struggling, and they're pissed off with anyone taking money from them.
Exactly.
They hate government for taxing them. They hate people for fucking charging them for this. They hate fucking people charging them for that. They fucking hate it right now because they're being squeezed. And this is what happens. And landlords are the first on the blame list because they're the ones that usually the ones who get the money at the end of the day. Everyone pays their rent. Everyone pays their rent at the end of the day. They never,
They're taking 3/4 of your take-home pay.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. Because, like, if you look at, I think it's like in the 1950s or 60s, it was about 1/8 of your income to rent. Like, the whole idea was it was supposed to be cheaper than a mortgage.
Your employer is fucking you. Sorry, just thought I'd bring that in there. Your employer has been fucking you for decades.
Hold up, 1/8? And legally, the fucking government assistant fucking apartments that I could have if I didn't have a house, I have to pay 50%. And they call that fucking supported by the government.
Well, that's the thing. That's why this term real wages is being used more often now. Because, like, you need to account for inflation. And so far, it's been working for a while. Just see your wages going up and stuff. But in terms of like actual buying power and cost of living and stuff, like real wages,
your wages go up every couple of years due to inflation.
No, they don't.
But it doesn't keep up with that.
Yeah,
Not really, but that's the only raises anybody's gotten in the last 30 years is inflationary adjustment.
no.
The way my
so-
wages went up during the 2 decades that I was working was by getting a new job.
Mm.
That's the only way.
Talking about
I was actually-
just sort of. We've had a lot of real morons out there recently. Obviously, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of Miami Beach. I don't know if you've seen like national parks in the UK as well, where people have
I've
decided.
seen those ones.
Yeah, they've just decided to treat it like a bank holiday Monday, and just
Holiday was actually trending on Twitter at that time.
Yeah, these people have now basically added 2 extra weeks. At least.
I could see how the problem on the whole national parks in the UK thing would be, but in the US, you could go to the national parks and never see another person.
We're a little bit smaller.
Well, I mean,
from-
I broke quarantine today. I went out to Tesco. I went out to Tesco's to go shopping.
I went to Tesco's too.
Because you know at some point or another you have to eat, so you've got to
Essential
maintain.
travel.
Yeah, you've got perishable goods that need to be. You need to get more of them. And thankfully, I mean, we were going to. I was going to the local co-op beforehand. They were basically bereft of stuff. They were absolutely ransacked. Mainly for the fact that they were a smallish store, but they were on the main high street of the town where I'm living, so they basically got the worst of it. So I went to Tesco's in a vain hope for milk. Now this is good signs time. There was a fuck ton of milk. This is the.
Oh yeah, there was a load of milk where I am as
Yeah.
well. So I think this is just like Tesco taking the initiative.
No, I don't think it's. I don't think it's anything like that. Actually, I think it's the fact that we've had so much bulk buying recently that the supply lines weren't able to keep up. You had the supply lines obviously being brought down a lot with people having to stay home as well, and so that readjustment period has sort of kicked in. It does mean that there are people out there that are breaking quarantine just to be able to deliver goods and stuff. Because we can't all stop. Because if we all stop, the electricity
have
stops,
to.
the water stops, everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if the trucks stop moving, that's basically a doomsday scenario.
Yeah, that's when you're at apocalypse time and people are carrying sticks around with them as they go shopping. Shit like that.
Well, I mean, that's
There's no going shopping. After 3 days, the stores will be empty.
Well, I was using that as a sort of like a colloquial term of looting. But,
There's nothing to loot. The stores are empty.
But here's an interesting one, yeah? This is, somebody posted this on Facebook to me, and I thought I'd quote this to you. This is from Samuel Deppies, and from his diaries in London, 1664. For any historians, you might know what he's about to say. On hearing ill rumour that Londoners may soon be urged into their lodgings by Her Majesty's men, I looked upon the street to see a gaggle of striplings making fair merry, and no doubt spreading the plague well about. Not a care had these rogues for the health of their elders. 1664, mate.
Yeah, and nothing has
Wow.
changed.
Yeah. This just
Actually hearing from...
it goes to show you,
Then again-
the idiocy is the. I'll be all right. I'll be okay. I'm
Then
going
again, I
to
did
be
walk the
okay.
dogs today.
Yeah, I'm going to be okay because I'm making sure I self-isolate. When I do go shopping in Tesco's, I've got my face pants on. So, nobody is going to be doing any coughing or sneezing on me, and I won't be coughing and sneezing on them. I wash my hands when I get home, obviously pressing buttons and, handling handrails and things like that. Yeah. Job done.
I'm actually loving this shit because, I can walk the dogs and there's no fucking cars whipping by.
From someone at
hardest
work
thing-
that... shut up. I was hearing from work that... supposedly the government are actually trying to suppress the fact that Dominic Cummings suggested an idea of just let the old people die.
If they die, too bad was the quote, I believe.
Thank you.
From
hardest
Dominic,
thing-
that's your entire voter base going away.
From a cost-benefit analysis, it's actually the best decision because think about it, the NHS capacity is fucking tiny and the usual running capacity for day in, day out in the NHS throughout the year is about 80%. is running 80% of its capacity, so only have 20% of the capacity in the NHS able to deal with it. So the best possible solution for the cost of it all is to have the curve to be as short as possible, which means it needs to be as steep as possible.
The hardest thing during all of this is trying to get past the human nature aspect of touching your face. On average, the human will touch their face about 20 times in an hour. And
said
this
Well,
is
I mean, I think
stuff
it's
that
just it's because it's in reach and stuff. You know, it's the same reason that, like, you know, cats and dogs go for like their groins. It's like if you can reach a part of your body, you it's like instinctive. You know, you just check it's still there. But speaking of deliveries and stuff, I might have to do that since like Tesco is emergency hiring. However, I may face a little bit of backlash because you guys are aware of TERFs, yeah?
Yes.
Tesco's already said this one. They said it to the Harry Potter author. If you are abusive towards our drivers, you'll be permanently blacklisted and your address will not be delivered to.
Oh yeah,
I'll
but like I have direct quotes here that I don't know. I could hang on. I'm gonna put it in the server. So like maybe you can get like a reading going on here. I don't know if so
We've got time.
No, it's
Everyone's got time at the moment.
Go for it.
all the time in the world. Where do I put this? Which channel?
What do you mean? Just
Like stream chat?
Just read it out.
Or... Oh, okay. Well,
your mouth is right there. Just use it.
Nah. No, I can't.
You're using it
Hands are
now.
This. Hang on. Oh, I don't have permission to post in that channel.
Well,
Okay,
then you best read it out.
Yeah, but like it was in another message, and then
You're a
there we go.
teacher, can't you read?
So, okay.
No, that's the secret shame of all teachers.
You were
Yes.
homeschooled.
Robin, she's a science teacher.
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh yeah,
English
they can't
teacher.
spell for shit. Can
I don't know words.
They can barely operate.
Okay, so this is one of the most prolific trans folks, who's pretty well known. Julia Long on trans delivery drivers, you know, to like the weak and enfeebled and stuff that might want to risk their health to deliver to people in times of need. If anyone in my local group recognized me, would I be expelled? And if I needed the service, would I be refused or forced to accept a man in woman face bringing my shopping? Even while isolating yourself in the midst of a global pandemic, it seems there is no escaping this. Yeah, I'm not going to swear, but yeah.
You can swear,
a
it's all
response
right.
to that. But to be honest, I am not sure that such a person would be interested in such womanly and remunerated. Is that the word? Remunerated.
Yeah.
Remunerated activities as delivering shopping to housebound and enfeebled old women. Julia Long. Ah, of course, you are dead right. I thought that myself after I had said it. It would probably be some handmaiden type or well-intentioned person who hasn't read the guidelines. The only reason a female impersonator would do it would be because of some fetishistic roleplay purpose, or perhaps to financially or otherwise exploit the person they are supposed to be helping.
But what the fuck is this? Who the hell is writing this stuff?
I know! We're in the middle of a health crisis, and
Mel,
go ahead, yeah.
Are you aware of the campaign group called Object?
No.
Oh, you probably should. I mean,
I just spoke through my hands. I'm touching my face. I've failed. It is nice knowing you guys.
I mean, they campaign against the sexualization of women and stuff like that. But they're also very much transphobes. They've even protested outside women's prisons, saying, "Get the men out of the women's prisons."
But by
I just-
definition, there are no men there.
They even picketed a pride parade, and there was actually a photo of the police dragging one of the campaigners away, and they took that photo and they said, "Look at the police disrupting our peaceful protest." Luckily, someone actually
no, they
snapped a photo
always do
before.
that. They go harass
Luckily,
people, and then when the police sort of say and stop them, it's like, police brutality. See, I'm right.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
no, you're.
And luckily, someone snapped a photo before the police took him away, and that campaigner was actually sitting in front of the parade, blocking it.
Yeah, but like the thing is that gets me about this. I put it in stream chat if you want to see it for yourself. But it's like in the middle of a coronavirus. How do you get from that to some weird anti-trans propaganda Illuminati? They're doing it, and
They're
they're
not
going to
anti-trans.
embezzle.
They're not anti-trans. They hate men.
And we're going to eat all the food. We're going to embezzle it all.
These are people that hate men. That's the thing. The transphobic thing is more along the lines of a hatred towards men, I think.
No, I don't know, because like there's a lot of guy turfs as well, like Graham Linehan and what's his name that writes for the Times. And
yeah, but we're back to the man. We're back to the man-hating. We're back to the man-hating feminist thing. Now, if you were Glinner, you'd hate yourself.
That goes without saying, but I don't think that is what it is. It's like
it is.
But they're just like I don't think they're like the man hating, because you got like the LGB alliance and stuff like that.
I'll be honest with you. I think the T should get the fuck out of there, to be honest with you, because the thing is, there's LGB. This is sexual preference. Not sexual, gender identity. And the thing is that
it's sexual identity.
Hear me out.
Okay.
The difference is that, right, do you think that being straight is an identity?
I don't think it's a choice, and I think it's something you're born with.
I didn't say that.
Did you?
I'm asking you a simple question. Do you think being a lesbian or gay is an identity?
Yes.
Technically it's sexual identity.
Yeah, no, it's not a sexual identity. It's a preference.
No, it's defined as sexual identity. It doesn't mean that it's like
are you telling me that people who are complete fucking like flaming faggots are the only representation of homosexuality that is correct?
No, because it didn't say that. The definition.
We're talking about identity here. How you identify as a person.
Yeah.
Your sexual preference. How many straight people do you know who are fucking assholes? How many straight people do you know that you don't like? How many straight people do you know you wouldn't want to identify with?
Yeah, I don't understand what you're
sexual
doing
preference has zero to do with identity. Zero.
Except, no.
People confuse
has something
it.
To do.
But it has zero to do with it. It's a confusion.
You're doing a non sequitur. I don't understand. Like,
how do you mean?
Because if you're like your sexual identity, I'm just trying to get my head around what you're trying to say, because it doesn't make sense to me.
What I fuck and who I am does not define me. If I want to look, just because somebody fancies men, for example, that doesn't make them a particular kind of person. I know plenty of gay guys who are
who
way
I have
more
sex with, and what I have sex as does not define.
or more masculine, let's say, than me. I know gay guys that would beat the shit out of you for looking at them in the wrong fucking way. I know gay guys who are absolute fucking faggots. I know all kinds of different kinds of gay guys.
Identity
different
isn't
identities.
A personality. It's not identity in the same way. Like it doesn't mean that it's a type of stereotype. It just means that you identify yourself as differently.
Women are generally stereotypically different than men.
I don't know.
Stereotypically, yes. There is a divergence there. Come on.
The whole reason we're together is just because we're born a different way, that societally marginalizes us, it's to do with sex, and it's whether it's who you go to bed as or who you go to bed with. They're both. It's just two sides of the same coin in terms of.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Because you're teaching kids in the street. You're teaching kids science as a woman.
Yes.
Where is the sex involved there?
Well, I'm also teaching kids as a lesbian. Where's the science there?
No, where's the sex there? Exactly.
Sorry, where's the sex there? Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But you're not going to the kids and kind of going, hello, I'm lesbian, Melody, are you?
Well, I'm not doing that with my trans status.
Do you
either.
identify as a woman?
Yeah.
If somebody says to you, Miss, are you going to respond by going, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, nobody is saying to you, excuse me, lesbians. Excuse me, can I talk to the gay people in the house? This is not how it works. There is an identity going on there. Your sexual preferences are of no relevance to your identity as a person.
But you would like if you wanted a representation of someone who was a lesbian and I don't want to speak. I'm going to say for Melody, like I don't know if you are or not, but like if let's say like this imaginary person was lesbian, they would speak up when you said that because they are.
That's a weird thing to actually say, though.
Yeah, but now we're getting into the point is like who's wearing red hats. That doesn't define you as a personality, if you see what I mean. I know, I'm
not. But that's the thing. It's not about personality. When we say identity in terms of LGBT, it's just the category that we fall into by definition.
So if you're trans, you're a woman, and you're straight, where do you lie in that? Now what?
What? You're straight and you're a woman and you're trans.
Yeah, and we're talking about people who are who have sexual identities versus sexual preferences.
You're also marginalised for your sexual identity and your sexual preference.
They are different. Otherwise, they wouldn't have different names.
No.
Trans people are marginalised for their sexual identity because people call it out and go, you can't be a lesbian because you're really just a man, or you can't be gay because you're really just a woman. That often happens.
Absolutely.
They're also marginalised for their identity of saying they're a man or a woman. So fitting into the LGBT is the best place for them to find people who agree with them, who are also alienated in similar ways.
You would think, but why not go towards, say, I don't know, black people? Why not say Asians? These are also people that are marginalised for their for being born in a particular way. This is where this all sort of falls apart. You see, the marginalisation bit is pretty much for every single group.
No, but
the KKK feel quite marginalised. You know.
Yeah, but it's not sexually related marginalisation.
Yes, and once again, identity, sexual identity, or at least gender identity, has nothing to do with sex.
Did you listen to what I said?
What?
Gender identity has nothing to do with sex. You could be asexual.
As in phenotypical biological sex. You're telling me that gender identity doesn't have anything to do with that.
No, I mean sex as in sexual preference.
Right, but that's related to sort of sex, as in like the phenotypical. I mean, I'm saying phenotypical because it can be always genetic.
How you identify is inherently linked with your sexuality.
Yeah.
The way you were born. The way you were born. Yes.
Mate, I know people who identify as train spotters.
No, but it's not the same type of identity. Like when we're saying that,
but Mel, you're a lesbian, right? So that's not the identity bit of you.
No, it is a sexual identity, just as straight is. It doesn't mean that there's one stereotype that everybody fits into. It's just a term to describe.
But there are straight women, there are straight women, and there are straight men.
Right.
Yes, they are divergent there. Right.
There are trans women and there are trans men.
Yes, but nobody is
divergent there.
Right. But I understand. Like it's part of them. It's a part of them. It's a part of their identity.
And I'm saying to you, it isn't. Simply for the fact
feel like we're going in
stating,
circles
yeah. Well,
here.
the thing is that
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're assuming that who I fuck makes me a different person. It doesn't.
No.
No, that's not what they're saying.
Well, how is it an identity then? Apart from the fact
Because
is,
it's-
I declare that I am a lesbian, doesn't make it an identity.
It's Robin, it's a homonym. It's not a synonym.
I understand that. What I'm saying is that somebody's how they identify themselves does not belie who they want to fuck, and vice
Robin,
versa.
you're dead
Who
kicked
somebody
into being
wants
straight
to
yet?
who somebody wants to
So,
fuck is not
is
an
ev- is
identity of them
everyone-
as a person.
Robin, have you had your head kicked in for being straight yet?
What the fuck has that got to do with it?
Because last time I checked, that happens to gay people all the fucking
Black
time.
people get the shit kicked out of them for being black, mate. What does that mean?
But that
Does black make it an identity now?
That's unrelated
Yes,
to
they
like
literally wear it on their skin.
No, they don't wear it on their skin. No black or white person wears it on their skin. This is made up.
what?
right, but it's not
Race
got anything
is a
to do
lie.
with the physicality of sex, and not the act of sex. Like
I'm talking about
physical
identity.
forms.
I'm talking about identity and how one identifies. And if you're saying that you identify as either gay or straight or whatever like that, all that really says is that you're not straight. That's all. That's all it says. It doesn't.
What?
That doesn't define you as a person.
Yeah, well, no
That-
one's
that-
no one's
that's like
arguing
saying-
that. No one's arguing that like if you say you're straight, you do X, Y, and Z as a stereotype. No one's arguing.
I
that if
didn't
you're-
say that either. What I'm saying to you is this: is that if you identify as something and you have, let's say, you have sexual preferences, those are two separate things. That is all.
What we're saying is that like because what we're saying is that when you were born a certain way and you have the same inherent like sexuality, that's part of your identity because of the ways like you interact with society. Because
No.
like yes.
No,
because
okay. Imagine, if you will, there are people in this world that are themselves. They've decided that they are who they are. Okay? Now, there are people there who haven't decided who they are. They're a little confused or whatever like that. There's people out there that also let society decide who they are. That doesn't make it so. One of the things I'm trying to point out is this, is that just because you fancy somebody, that doesn't make it an identity. I can understand why many people in the gay community, lesbian community, wish to bolster themselves together as a protection against societal douchebags. I get that, but that doesn't make it an identity.
So why shouldn't trans people want the same protection?
Oh my God.
I'm
Do you
really
think-
not seeing.
You've literally got turf
Robin-
lesbians. You've got turf lesbians
you were
hating
really,
on them.
you were really being unnecessarily
like, the majority, the majority.
No, I'm just trying to get
of
myself
TERFs
understood here.
Okay, yeah, but the majority of TERFs, in my experience, have been middle-aged straight men, not lesbians.
Well,
there are
yeah,
a lot of loud ones that are used.
I didn't say they were all like that. I'm saying that they are out there. What I'm saying is that just because you're gay doesn't mean that you can't be a discriminating bastard. Just because you're bisexual, that doesn't mean.
that, though.
What? Oh my Jesus fucking Christ!
Look,
yes. And guess what?
Robin,
and guess
the
what?
thing
There
is,
are lesbians, there are bisexual people, and there are gay guys who don't like who don't like trans people. Simply for the fact is they're, well, in some cases actually getting in on what they consider their own turf.
And a lot do. People are different, but the thing is I've not heard a good reason why, like, the LGBT shouldn't be together.
And my point is that is that there are sexual preferences and there are sexual identities, or at least gender identity. I think is probably the better way to describe it, because I think getting sex involved in it is where it all goes wrong. Because, like I said, it's an identity. There's men, there's women, and there's trans men and there's trans women. There's not this one of the things I kind of get a bit bored with is this idea that a lot of people are putting into it is that they can almost like choose their gender. And I think that's kind of rude to people who don't have that choice. Do you know what I mean? Nobody chooses to be
Not
white or black
really.
or gay or straight. I've never chosen to be straight. You know?
It's a
Yeah,
I don't think
pretty
anyone
serious thing. It's a pretty
chooses to
serious-
be gender dysphoric.
That's right. So, in other words, if that's the case, then you can bring straight people along as well, because I didn't get to choose to be straight either. And I've been.
Yeah, but you've
I've
not
been
been marginalised on that basis.
Actually, I have. I lived in Brighton. I've had gay people discriminate against me because of my.
Yeah, but that is
because I'm straight.
nowhere near comparable to
Never said it was.
systematic.
Never said it was. Never said it was. What I'm saying is that it does happen. Straight people are not the only bigots in the world.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
I don't think anyone's making the argument that by being a certain like sexual identity, it makes you virtuous.
No, I didn't say that either. What I'm saying is that just
But you're
because...
making that argument, though.
No, I'm not making that argument. You're not listening to the argument that I'm trying to make. What I'm saying is that people are, well, defending, if you will, the idea of holding this particular group together in such a way by saying, well, yeah, but they're being picked on. It's like, yeah, and they're picking on each other. You've got people who are trans being picked on by people who are lesbians because they don't like them in there, or they don't, mainly because they're fucking, they could be man-hating lesbians. There's quite a lot of them about as well.
Okay. I think I'm getting this now. Robin, you're arguing essentially that gay people and lesbians can be just as much dicks to trans people.
No,
but
that's not what I'm arguing.
What I'm saying.
That was an argument.
The foundation of your
No.
I'm trying to get what both people say.
Listen then. That was not the argument that I was making. That was the counter to the counter of my argument. When somebody is saying to me, well, yeah, but they're being discriminated against, and I say, so fucking what? That is not anything to do with it. If you're going to basically group a bunch of people that are being discriminated against, that's everybody. Everyone gets discriminated against. Whether it's their family members. You have people who have got like fucking absolute arsehole brothers or sisters or whatever like that, and they've got to fucking, hang around with that bunch. Oh, you're that guy's brother, is it? Oh, I remember. Yeah. Keep an eye on this one. That sort of discrimination happens to everybody. If you're going to just put it down to discrimination, you are basically just wiping the slate clean for anybody to turn up. That's what I mean. Discrimination is not enough.
I was trying to okay, you're trying to say that everyone is discriminated in some way. Essentially, what Mel and Seb and things could get dicey are trying to say is that trans people are just as discriminated as much as gays and lesbians, much more than straight people.
Indeed.
That's what they're saying.
Once again, I will say it again: being discriminated against does not make you a group. Doesn't put you in the same group as this particular person.
But being discriminated against because of your sex and gender.
Why not go with Black Lives Matter then?
Is a good way to
go with Black Lives Matter. Black people get discriminated against more than anybody, don't they?
LGBT organizations do associate with minority groups.
Yeah, and then a bunch of straight black people hate on them too, because there's plenty of discriminatory black people out there, just the same as white people.
I kind of feel you don't get what intersectionality is.
So what? Are we expected to throw trans people to the wolves?
I'm new to intersectionality, am I? This is the issue, you see, is that there's a lot of people who seem to think that this is somehow some sort of like new thing for millennials you've just woken up with. We were doing this in the fucking like 50s and 60s, guys. There were people who were identifying as women back then. Many of them were fucking killed because we didn't know how to fucking deal with it. But it was there. People
I'm well aware of the
worked out to
history of
deal
trans
with it.
people under Nazi rule.
Yeah, but once again, you at least understand the difference between a sexual identity and a gender preference, a gender identity and a sexual preference. They are differences.
I
sexual identities are informed by your gender.
I think the classifications for that I'm going to leave up to, I don't know, the field that sort of studies human behavior instead of, whatever it is you were trying to communicate for the past 15 minutes.
They're saying this. There are sexual preferences. They're called sexual preferences. This person likes to have sex with men. They're a man. We've decided to call them homosexual. This person here is born a woman, but is identifying as a man. This person has
Like to have
gendered...
sex with people as a man.
Oh, but no. You've completely missed this. I'm talking simply about that. Just gender identity, not sexual preference. Just because you are a woman, that does not mean that you fancy men, does it?
Who you go to bed as, who you go to bed with, that's the
Yes,
LGBT.
those are two different... Yes, and those are different. Those are different.
No,
Sorry.
they're related.
They're not. And that's the problem.
You can't have one
what I
without the
don't
other.
understand is why are you deciding upon the person? Why isn't the person got the validity to say what they are? Why doesn't it come to the person saying, I am this, this is what I identify as, please can you respect that?
Simple enough. I do respect that, but what I say to Mel, are you you consider yourself a woman, yes?
Yes.
And as far as I was aware, you were a lesbian, yes?
Yes.
Why are there two separate words for this if it's the same fucking thing? Because it ain't. Those are two separate things, different things.
It's a descriptor of the. It's a descriptor of how Melody identifies with herself.
Right. But once
That's
again,
just my reality. That's
yes.
It's not really. It's not really an identity in terms of personality.
No,
I'm
that's
just
right.
Describing what I am.
However, when it becomes male or female, those start to have at least some sort of divergence when it comes to personality. We can at least agree upon that.
Well, we're trying not to do that because of that would imply some form of sexism.
What?
Because
defining that there are
make...
sexes doesn't make it sexist.
No. Trying to make that like there's differences in personality based on your sex is kind of sexist, because if some people
certainly is kinder to anybody who hasn't actually looked.
Blimey.
Jesus Christ, mate! You're thinking that all women and men are just the same and we've just been socialised this way? Come on.
But you've got to admit that bell curves exist.
I think there should be an open field for people to be able to be the person that they want to be, and then saying that people act in certain ways is implying that they should act towards those certain ways.
Please note that you've made the implication yourself. I didn't imply that anyone should. All I'm doing is describing what is, not what should be. And I'm not arguing for what should be. I'm arguing about what is. And that is the difference. You can't change reality because you don't like it, hoping that it will that a new reality will emerge. Because that lie just comes up and slaps you in the face. One of the reasons why a lot of this alt-right and all of these Trumpists and stuff like that, that's the reason that they got such a foothold in the way that they did. Mainly for the fact is that many people on the left were going with stuff that just didn't make a lot of sense. And it doesn't. And they were able to make themselves look sensible by comparison. That's the danger.
Because you need to think about it.
Believe it or not, that's the attitude that works, really. You're not thinking about it, though. You're just following and then repeating. Think it through for a second. There is a difference between somebody wanting to have sex with a man or a woman and somebody who has no choice but to identify as a gender. And to say, and I ask you, and my question is weird to anybody, if there is no divergence between these two genders, there is no such thing as gender dysphoria then?
What? You're taking really big leaps.
No. It's simple logic. If you're telling me that there isn't that males and females, okay, there's no real personality divergence between them, and it's all just a joke, then there isn't an actual anything such as gender dysphoria. You have literally just chopped that up.
No, because it's not because I have a personality of a woman. I'm into electronics. I like doing woodwork.
That doesn't make you a woman.
No.
What defines you as a woman?
A drive to function physically and phenotypically is female.
What does that mean?
That means that I have breasts.
What you're saying is that you were born just needing breasts.
No, just to feel comfortable in my skin.
Why would it be uncomfortable for you?
I don't know. Evolutionary, sexually dimorphic reasons.
Sexual?
It's just a physical...
No. We've already decided that sexual dimorphism doesn't exist. Remember?
Well, not in personality.
No.
But in terms of like underlying, functioning, existing as a mammal, it's.
Well, I'm not saying like there isn't a divergence in like the biological sexes. I'm saying that there is isn't much of a divergence in like say personalities, because personalities can be kind of similar beyond the spectrum like of male and female, or male and female and trans. Like the personalities can be quite similar. There's not that much of a divergence in saying like being like work, like, you know, because if I was watching Yes Minister the other day and they were having attitudes about women in the workplace which are really fucking sexist, and it was basically like, oh, they can't do that because of X, Y, and Z and rearing children and all that sort of stuff, and we know that to be bollocks. It's just the same sort of like attitude and standards that don't need to be there.
Do you think that let me just respond to that. The very idea of me saying that men and women may think slightly differently to each other in a general term is the same as saying that women should be like what, housebound, barefoot, and making. You're putting that in the same vein as that, as describing sexual dimorphism as women should be in the kitchen.
No,
it's not the same. It's not even close.
Robin, at no point was my dysphoria ever triggered due to some personality-based thing. It was always simply just the physicality. Like it's the phenotype. I didn't want facial hair. I didn't want any of that. And it's the idea of actually physically becoming something or going down a biological road that you do not want to go down.
Got you. How many women do you know that?
None of that.
No, I get you. Can I just answer what you have to say?
To do with personality.
Yeah, let me answer you this. Do you know many women who are very comfortable being flat-chested or having too big boobs? Do you know many women who don't care about their appearance?
That can be a kind of dysphoria, but it's not on the same level.
What I'm saying is that without sexual dimorphism, you don't have dysphoria, because there's no field for that to exist in. The moment you describe there being no gender differences, then you are describing a place where no gender dysphoria can actually exist.
Physically, there are spectrums of sexual dimorphism, but when it comes to personality, those two bell curves collapse in on one another.
What, you mean for men and women?
To a large extent, yeah.
Well, intelligence
Human
lines, for example?
brains are highly developed.
Yeah, men are much less risk adverse. Women are much more cautious. This is just how things are. I'm not saying it because I'm a sexist. I'm saying it because that's what sexes do. Black people have black skin. That doesn't make me racist to say so.
Right, but it's very difficult to pinpoint things when it comes to things like personality, complex, mental.
Absolutely. That's why I said in general. You can at least, indeed, I can find examples that would be completely against what I've said. However, exceptions are not things to disprove rules. They're just there to show you that there are exceptions to them.
We've gone completely around into the
rules.
Yeah, like, okay, change of topic. Has anyone seen the Madonna video?
The most bourgeois bullshit I've ever seen.
I have not seen this video.
Oh my
basically,
God.
she's sitting in the tub, basically going, the coronavirus is it's the world equalizer. We're all the same, really.
That's the best thing and the worst thing about it.
Yes, while I'm sitting here lying in milk or some shit with flowers around me and stuff, and it's like kind of going, yeah, you must be suffering real hard.
And then you've got this really weird really weird. Like, have you seen the comedy video of the guy like pretending he's filming it? He's just like going, "What the fuck are you doing?"
What
like,
do
because
you
he's like,
expect?
Why am I even here with a camera?
You expect from a woman who believes in Kabbalah?
Can I just say one thing about the bathtub she was in?
Very
It's
nice.
a 20 grand bathtub.
Very nice.
Oh my god.
Look at this. Look at this. Where's the stream chat? I'll go here. But look at this. This is someone like doing like a cut on it, pretending to be the guy filming it. It's hilarious.
I don't know what I'm meant to be looking for. I'm new to this.
Stream
Oh, you've
chat
not
is just,
seen this yet.
Yeah.
Stream
Go to
chat,
the
I mean
stream-
Discord stuff.
Oh.
Where
on
is-
the left
where
hand
is-
side. Left-hand
Oh,
side
I
where it
know
says
this
stream
guy.
chat.
This is
Back in a
the
moment.
No,
movie
it
reviews
literally
guy.
said-
No,
Sorry,
no, don't
the-
go into the stream chat. he went into the stream chat rather than looking at the chat, the text chat. Bakura, you need to look at where it says like the hashtag. The hashtag is where you can like type and put stuff in. Like you see the stream chat like category at the bottom. Okay, so you see where it says AFK 5 minutes, and then you see there's a stream chat title, and then there's a hashtag. The hashtag is where the text chats are, where you can post things.
But yeah, no, this is the pitch meetings guy. Have you watched his channel?
No.
Oh, it's so good. Like every
You just
single
take out its
movie.
daily inconvenience.
Mhm.
I can send it to you privately if you need me to, if it's that much of a bother.
Yeah, I'm just rubbish with technology, mate. That's all.
Okay.
I mean,
Ah.
You should
all right.
get like
there's
a,
something.
you should get an alert at the top right of your screen.
Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, got
There you go.
that. Yeah.
So any other news about COVID-19 then? Since this is a theme of the stream before we got derailed onto...
Well, it
Yeah.
turns out actually has an effectivity of 3.0. It just looks like it had an effectivity of 2.0 because the Chinese culture is really good at suppressing diseases.
I was thinking of taking it in a different direction, if you'll allow me, considering we have a musician here. I actually wrote about something recently, and it's a culmination of like what I've learned from cognitive science, as well as music in general in terms of a language.
Mm.
Would you like me to read what I wrote?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So now this is a hypothesis, but it's grounded in things I learned through psychology and language. Maybe someone's done studies on this already, and I haven't spotted them yet. I could start a new thread, but we're already talking jazz, so I'll just add this here because people interested in this stuff are likely to drop by, and well, they might find this interesting. Have you ever thought about music as a language? When you think about it, it's something that's universal to the point even animals respond to it. What's one of the things necessary with language? Inference, the ability to complete notions, concepts with a certain set of information. Now, we've seen this illustrated quite remarkably by people like Bobby McFerrin. He says that it doesn't matter what part of the world he's in, people are still able to infer the next note on a pentatonic scale. So it's not just any language, it's universal. That's what sets it apart from English. The other thing is that the basic rules, regardless of the geography, still apply, where with English, you might have disagreements on concepts like what's harmful. Okay, so that's the part of the foundation to my following proposition. Like all cultures, music was a part of the Black communities, and its evolution from having strong roots in Christianity as well as slavery shaped and molded it into a unique and undeniable force. And with time, Black communities started to get a little more civil liberties. Don't get me wrong, they were still being treated inhumanely. But the boot on their necks was lifted just enough for people to start getting jobs, earning income, buying instruments, and collectively changing the landscape of music forever. They gave people soul. What's a closed-minded white person who's socially isolated to do when they pass by a barber shop, hearing the harmonic voices of people they're supposed to hate, telling their fallible mammalian brains that what they're hearing is awe-inspiring? With contact theory, when you're exposed to individuals, their experience, the more time you spend, the more empathy starts to seep in. Whatever ignorance shaped in relation to what one thinks about a specific group of people, a universal language such as music, bypasses these notions, and the next thing you know, you're starting to tap your foot, despite being supposed to hate black people. This is why I think black artists are the unsung champions for civil rights, as they were the ones on the ground, performing and changing people by simply creating and bypassing all preconceived notions that one, as a white American of the time, might have. You want to have an intersectional approach that will move mountains? Great orators helps, but artists are the ones who change the landscape by merely what comes naturally, by merely doing what comes naturally, and that's creating. This is also why I'd argue that funding to the arts is paramount and should not be ignored.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And you know, there is some truth to that. I forget it. I think it was Roosevelt actually once passed funding to basically fund art projects. So things like musicians, drama troupes, and all this. And the idea was investing in the artistic culture of a people. And know that in modern times, art is kind of renegated or relegated, rather, to the sidelines. But I've also been watching a lot of Alan Moore's talks. And Alan Moore's interesting because, on the one hand, yeah, he's like
Alan
a David
Moore.
Icke character.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
yeah. He's like
the
David
guy
Icke,
who wrote
where
a book on paedophilia and tried to make it acceptable.
yeah, no, he's weird because he's like David Icke, where he'll start talking about, you know, something like, for example, with David Icke, you know, he'll start talking about, well, you know, there are people in power that will try to maintain that power through, I suppose what you could kind of say is a sort of psychic network. It's not really a psychic network. It's just more of the ideas that it puts out in media. And you're like, yeah, I'm following you, David Icke. Good point. Also, the moon is an egg. And you're like, what? Also, there's lizard people, literal lizard people. They're everywhere. And it's like, Alan Moore, I found, is the same, especially when he talks about magic. Like the way he described it, which, yeah, and like I remember as part of science lessons, especially on moment or torque. It's got a lot of names, but basically it's turning force. It's the idea behind why you would push a door away from a hinge rather than right next to the hinge. It's easier,
Grant Morrison's into the same sort of shit.
Yeah, but like,
yeah.
When I did the magic trick, a child came up to me and said, "Is there real magic?" And as a science teacher, that is a heck of a question to be asked, especially with a young child. And I thought for a moment, and I said, "Well, you know, what I showed you, these are just tricks. But real magic is language. It's being able to say the right things in the right order at the right time, and you can change the world just with an emotion, just with the right words, and that's the real magic." And like Alan Moore, it's the same with music or art or anything. Which it just made me think of that in your in your piece, Pascal, because I think there is something to that when Alan Moore says that, you know, there's a certain magic in creating, because if you put that out into the world, then other people pass that on, and then, you know, you can't kill an idea.
Mhm.
An idea just spreads even faster. And
It goes
it's
positively viral.
yeah. I mean, just look at steamed hams. That's a perfect example of an idea. Just it's everywhere. And it changes, but it does change the public consciousness. And in a way, you are changing reality with art. And that's the power of art. But then Alan Moore will start talking about how magic is actually real magic as well, and demons and stuff. And you're like,
I mean, you could go like the Jordan Peterson route and just start saying, like, you know, stuff like
metaphysical substrates.
No, you forgot to use the word axiom.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you could start like trying to make the case that like superhero books are a representation of like inner child psyche and shit like that, to try and justify all the bullshit that you say. It's pretty similar. But as for music being universal, yeah, it pretty much is. I mean, it's just frequencies. You can't deny physics. Because that's what it's like. It's physics manipulation, basically, what music is.
I think it is odd though that, like, I don't know, that artists have kind of forgotten the power that they actually hold. It might have been due to maybe the Industrial Revolution and this focus more towards science and productivity, and that's the kind of world we're in now. But I mean, for example, and this is another Alan Moore example, back in the day, if you get cursed by a witch, so your crops are a bit bad for a week or so, or your pigs or, you know, whatever. But if a bard makes a tune mocking you, that can live on after you die. You can even kill the minstrel that came up with that song, but then many centuries later, people are still singing about King George, and how, you know, he ate all the pies and he kissed the girls and made them cry. Georgie Porgy pudding and pie. Yeah, so.
Can anyone remember Can anyone remember the name of that fucking British hippie guy who's always coming out with fucking ridiculous inspirational quotes that you sit there and you kind of go, well, yeah, mate, that's pretty fucking obvious, actually. Why are you saying it so quietly and slowly as though really?
I'm not saying all art is.
No, I'm just thinking of this guy. It wasn't Alan Moore, but Alan Moore reminds me of him. I'm just trying to remember the name of the guy now.
It wasn't Bill Bailey.
No. It's like he just
Russell Grant.
No, well, if you will, he basically was like a Russell Grant of the '60s, if you will.
Okay.
I'm just trying to remember the name of the guy now.
It's kind of like whenever you find out that one of your artists that you like listening to has done something morally questionable, and you kind of feel like a little part of you died. That's because music can reach anybody, anywhere across the globe, and you don't have any pretense to it. It's just like its own force. You can't like listen to something that's pleasant to the ear and just, you know, kind of shut that off. Like you might start tapping your foot. You might say, like, yeah, this is a great song, but fuck R. Kelly, man. He likes to dick, you know, children, and that's not cool. But he still has some good songs for some reason, and
I always
go through your brain and conflict, right?
Well, you got to get the kids in somehow, mate.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I always separate the art from the artist, always, because if I tried to hold every artist that I like to a moral standard, I'd go insane.
Yeah.
Plus, you'd have to sort of, you know, with H.P. Lovecraft and stuff, you'd have to talk about his Asianification
Racism.
years. Yeah, and his conspiracy years.
I saw this argument the other day on like sort of Cold Dusty trying to wrap his head around it as well. I was just basically saying, like, you know, if I saw Jimi Hendrix as a role model, I think I'd probably be dead because of the amount of heroin he took is not good. As well as like if I saw if I enjoy Michael Jackson's music, that doesn't make me an inherent, like, you know, quasi
Nonce.
did he or did he not pedophile. It just makes me someone who likes his
I got
music.
it. I got the guy. Alan fucking Watts.
Oh, Alan Watts, yeah. I've enjoyed him.
It's like,
I've enjoyed him at
do you know
some
what?
point.
Do you know what? If I state the obvious in a really quiet way, and it feels like it's inspirational. That's Alan fucking Watts in a nutshell. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. So get on with it. Is what you're saying. Okay.
Oh, you know the Norse actually have a story about where art comes from, like art, music, poetry, all of that actually comes from.
Let's
And
hear it.
okay, well, so Odin one day basically goes up to Thor and Loki and says, I want you to build like 6, 7, big barrels and stuff. Just leave them by the wall there. I'm off on a wander, as I do. Because he did, and he would go in disguise and stuff. He goes to this giant's castle, and they had this mead, which was called like the mead of poetry. And if you drank this mead, you would just instantly start doing the most beautiful poetry that you'd ever heard and stuff. You'd be inspired. I don't know if there's probably some subtext there about drinking, but I don't know. But anyway, so Odin goes to the castle, but the giant's gone, and there's a giantess there instead. And so he has relations with the giantess. She doesn't know that she's Odin. He's Odin at this point because he's in disguise. And so like after the lovemaking, Odin turns to her and says, "Oh, you're so beautiful, but I need I can't articulate how I feel. If only there was some sort of mead or something that I could maybe drink, that I could tell you how beautiful you are." And this went on for a while. She's like, "Nah, I can't do that. I'm looking after it." And then he finally does get access to this mead, and as soon as he does, he downs the entire like giant's barrel of mead, and then turns into an eagle and flies out of the castle. She chases after him.
They had better writers back then, didn't they? Really?
Oh yeah, they did. They had. There's no morals in Norse mythology, which I love. Stuff just happens, which is brilliant. But anyway, so he's flying there with the mead in his cheeks, but she's catching up to him because she's a giantess. She's pretty fast and stuff, and she's going to catch him. He realizes he's too slow with all this, mead in his mouth, and so he spits it over the wall of Asgard into the barrels next to very surprised Thor and Loki, as it fills up the barrels, and he escapes across the wall. Now, some of the mead that he spat out actually landed and fell to the to Midgard, so the human realm and stuff. And it says that if you were touched by that mead, you develop an artistic talent. So whether that's poetry or music or art or whatever and stuff. But that's not the whole story, because as a final insult to the giantess that was chasing him, he had actually swallowed some of the mead and farted the mead out in her face. Some of that mead also fell to earth. So if there's ever a really bad artist or musician, that's the mead that fell on them.
So we're getting butt mead.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one, guys. One of the things
Fucking Kanye.
One of the things that's been happening recently with this virus is that many people who were renting their places out on Airbnb are now going and putting them on the market normally. So for renters again.
Oh wow.
Well, that's pretty nice, I guess.
I think they
charging reasonable.
Well, I think they found out that
wouldn't say that was
disruptive
nice.
businesses are quite disruptive.
Mm.
I
It
really
still leaves
hope.
the people homeless.
I really hope that fucking buzzword dies on a fucking bed of nails. I really do. I fucking hate that word. This business is disruptive, and I sit there and kind of go, "Oh right, you're going to fuck a load of people in the arse, are you? Great." Because that's all these disruptive business models do. You know? Oh, what did you want to have a job as a taxi driver? Tough shit. You got to go work at this fucking place that pays you half the money, just so somebody can get a $5 off their fucking taxi fare. Great. Very disruptive of you. And yeah, Airbnb did it. They basically turned landlords into hoteliers. And now all of these people have decided to not fucking book their places up and cancel on them, and they're not getting their money from Airbnb because Airbnb are kind of going, "Psh, what? Nothing to do with me, bud. I have no responsibility here," because that's the new business
Sounds like
model.
a landlord.
Yeah, they're basically now kind of going, well, fuck Airbnb then. They're fucking me in the ass. And it's like, yeah. And now, if you go to, say, Dublin, 64% rise in rental properties across Dublin. Almost half, that's like half on top. 1.5 times the amount of rental of properties in Dublin this very moment, as opposed to last week because of Airbnb.
Well, that's going to increase like your rent to 2/3 of your income, which you're also not receiving.
Well, no, if anything, it'll be competition. Because now there's a bigger supply to the demand.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop all the empty rented apartments and stuff and people living on the street. There's plenty of competition, but they will just...
Well, it will minimise it. It's not going to stop homelessness, but even if every single fucking house was filled with people, that wouldn't stop homelessness.
Actually, the government's working towards stopping homelessness at the moment by just giving homeless people hotel rooms and abandoned houses.
Once again, even that won't stop it outright. Some people just don't want to fucking live in houses. You just can't stop that. What I'm saying is this is maximised a lot of the issues that have come through with this home crisis. Because like places like Airbnb, if I can make, say, £300 a week off a fucking property rather than like £800 a month, what am I going to do? £1,200 in the bank or £800? What am I going to do?
Could do the moral thing.
Yeah, morals don't earn you money. I don't know if do you want to start telling kids the truth in school? Yeah,
Well,
now you're shutting the fuck up. Yeah, exactly. Your life and money like the rest of us.
No. I was gonna say that there was a thing about like the army and stuff, and there was a task that I had no choice in, giving to them, where they had to write a pamphlet on the benefits of joining the army.
Oh.
And I did kind of slip in there, maybe avoid, you get to see new places, meet new people, learn new skills. You might die. And like they appreciated that. That I wasn't just gonna kind of forget about that.
You get to travel to exotic places and watch it explode.
By
And
the
if
way,
you're really
I'm
lucky,
doing.
you get to travel to exotic places and get shot in the face.
By the way, I'm doing a discount on teaching because of this issue, because of what's happened, so people can play their guitar at home.
Oh, that's good. Very decent of you.
Yeah, because of I had a few students cancel on me because they looked at me as a luxury and they're getting sacked from their jobs. So sucks.
That's the
So I'm
thing,
offering
though.
a discount.
I I don't know if it's the majority of people. I don't know how many people it is, but I am seeing some people actually doing acts of kindness and stuff, and it's not because Lord Boris is demanding it. It's just because it's what they would do.
Well,
Like,
Boris
anyway.
is determined to make everybody believe that government is useless. And he is doing a really good job on that. I mean, that is his primary goal, you know? After infiltrating the BBC and ruining it, then they're talking about getting rid of the licence fee. And getting the left to actually agree. It's brilliant. Fucking, these, you know, you can say what you like about the right, but they're tactical geniuses.
Although, what is interesting is, did you see the kind of
Trump was
special
playing
House of
340,
Commons? Did you see that special House of Commons where they were doing like social distancing and it was only about 100, well, not even 100, I think maybe it was about 30, 40.
I mean, they could just
like-
check them. You can literally check them there.
Right,
I was
but
enjoying
like,
watching that House of Commons today until one of the Conservative MPs came out in favour of mental health procedures and said that the bill that the government put forward for emergency legislation should be scrapped because it puts undue stress on autistic people who can't comprehend the fact that they're being asked to stay inside.
but like it was fascinating though, this like special House of Commons thing. Because when you eliminate all the jeering and the booing and like the football match mentality and stuff, when Boris is asked a question, he has to actually answer. And I'd never seen this in politics before. And it's
British politics.
it was a novel experience for me. It was like seeing, you know, the Prime Minister not able to just sort of not answer a question, just make a terrible joke, and have his entire side cheer and applaud him because they weren't there.
Well, I mean, Boris has lost the election. Boris Johnson has lost his election.
How do you mean?
Whatever election he calls, he has lost it.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, most definitely.
But did you see my dad's text though?
Yeah.
No.
Well, your dad seems to be really keen on what people call thought terminating cliches. You don't know what you're talking about, mate. You know, it's like kind of going, I bet that really works when people were kids, Dad. Well, I'm an adult now, and I actually know a few things. And to be honest with you, you sound like you're just saying the same old bullshit. I don't think actually you know, and you've just been relying on this bullshit to keep you going for this amount of time. Try that with your parents. It won't last long, but then after a couple of years, once they've actually realised what you've just said to them, because obviously they won't talk to you for fucking ages, but once they get through that, they know that they can't get away with that shit with you anymore. The only way to become a real adult is to go, Dad, shut the fuck up. It's nice when you do that too, and they look at you as though you've basically just chopped a puppy up in front of them, and you're kind of going, yeah, that's what I fucking said, old man. Shut the fuck up. The fuck do you know? Sitting there watching your viddy box all day.
He's working hard.
Unless he's a doctor or working in a
speaking-
supermarket, I'm not going to believe that right now.
Speaking of the Viddy box, I have recently, well, not recently,
Say again.
but sorry, a while ago, I acquired a VHS player and also a couple of unlabeled VHSs from my parents, and it is a fascinating experience because people would never record just one thing. Like you would set a recording before the thing because you need to figure out how to use a VCR and stuff because technology in the older generation. Anyway, so they'll leave it recording, but then they'll watch the thing and then they'll forget it's recording, and then you just get to experience television from like 1991.
Oh, well, then there's the home porn, of course. That's always fun. Hey, Satan, my dude. Anyway, yeah. carry on.
Also, well, I got to watch the news
that
as well. And did you know that the Falklands have just been invaded? And I'm a bit worried about that. How that's going to turn out.
I don't want to give you a spoiler alert, so we'll leave it.
Okay.
Did you see?
But the English
that
never get over it.
Did you see that? Did you see that wanking was trending in the UK for the last week?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah, mainly because loads of people were complaining about it trending. That's all I saw. It was just people moaning about the fact that it was trending, and I just scrolled back quite a lot to find the bits that people were moaning about. It's like,
hello.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I love all the. I love all the typos that have been trending as well, like the COVID idiots and coronavirus and coronavirus. Coronavirus was my favorite.
Coronavirus, yeah.
The coronavirus. Watch out for that corn. But it's just people see the hashtag and they don't read it and then they retweet it and then that makes it trending. And like you just got poor OCD people at home staying away from Twitter rocking in the corner because no one's noticing. Not a good time
It's
to be
okay,
on
Mel.
Twitter if you're OCD.
But I simply don't get it because I'm dyslexic.
This is the time when we need Harambe.
Mm.
That's an old meme.
What does Harambe got to do with it?
I like to bring up old memes just to slap people over the cringe head with it.
I don't know. Coco was way better than
You tweeted
Harambe.
this, didn't you? You tweeted this for months, didn't you? Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying this to, like, you know, people who bring up like people who still have Kekistan in their fucking bios and stuff like that. You know, those are the same people that complain about people having pronouns in their bios. And I'm just like, mate, honestly, really? Oh, please.
That's why it makes me think maybe I should put pronouns in my bio just because it annoys the right people.
It is the politics of spite. They've really been effective with that.
Oh, you should check out my current bio. It's so effective getting TERFs just to instantly block me and racist and the easily offended.
Ooh, speaking of TERFs and blocking, Frankie Boyle blocked Graham Linehan.
Yeah, I know that.
And he was just like, he's not one to block usually and stuff. I mean, Graham's blocked everyone now, but Frankie basically, I don't know, like Graham was on a transphobic rant or something, and he reached out to Frankie, and he's like, you're like
you hate them too, don't you?
Yeah, come on, get in here. And Frankie basically just said in the nicest way, Graham, you have an internet problem. I don't know how to help you. I don't know if anyone can, but like, I'm gonna
let you be.
I'm gonna go now. You've got an internet addiction. Just get it sorted.
But here's the thing about Linna that everybody needs to understand. He didn't write a bunch of comedy programs. He wrote the backstory for a bunch of comedy programs. Comedians write comedy programs.
The thing is, as well, he's not written anything in ages, and I believe it's because, like, I mean, Shakespeare said it: brevity is the soul of wit. And if you lose your brevity, your ability to tell truth concisely, then you're not going to be funny. It's just,
the last thing he did was IT Crowd, right? When was that out? When was the IT Crowd out? It was like
2005 or something.
Yeah.
Like ages ago.
He's a farce
They're still
writer.
using flip phones.
He's a writer for farces. The thing is that when it comes to comedy writing, half of that writing is done by the people organising, and the other half is done by the comedians doing it themselves.
Yeah,
because they're sitting there kind of going, I'm not going to read out this line. This is bullshit. I need something funny here. And they work out a way to get it. A good example
of that is books with, like, Dylan Moran and Belle Bailey.
Exactly, yeah.
Just playing off each other. I'm like half convinced that at least half of the lines were just ad-libbed.
No. It's not so much that. No. That's not how it works with comedy writing. Comedy writing is like a negotiation. because everybody knows what's funny. So you have to have a vote on what's the funniest. You know.
Do you know
What were
who
you
the best comedy writing that I've witnessed recently is Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's so well, it's well written because everything joins together.
Oh yeah, the end of each episode. Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. The recent episode that he just wrote was hilarious. About how he opened up a spite store because if he wasn't served the way he would like to be served, so he opened up the store next door to try and trash them, and it all goes horribly wrong.
With comedic effect.
I love that central concept of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is take a comedy show trope, try and enact it in real life with that logic, and just naturally let it play out and just implode in on itself, because like sitcom logic doesn't work in the real world. And it's just, I don't even know how to.
Rick Speak asks, so UK is in lockdown now, I hear. It depends on your version of lockdown. I went out Monday morning to go to Tesco's to hopefully try and get some milk. It's been basically a mission of mine for the last couple of days. I am a coffee drinker. I need my fucking milk, motherfuckers. And went out to Tesco's. I did myself a little journey there, and the roads, I wouldn't say were chock-a-block by comparison to normal. It's probably about half the amount of traffic, let's say that. We're in the middle of London, so, it's obviously, the pulsing heart of the UK. But yeah, lockdown is not really the best description, I would say. But everything's got to keep moving. We've got to keep moving, otherwise,
It's a sort of suggestion to stay indoors. It's like...
Yeah, but now it's lockdown from pretty much tomorrow onwards.
Yeah.
So I bought a big bottle of milk.
It's one of those 6-pointers.
Shopping.
Yeah.
Oh no!
What?
Get ready for the racist and sexist rants of all the weirdos and reactionaries on the internet. They're starting up the whole Gamergate 2 thing because they're thinking that government could limit bandwidth whilst they're quarantined.
They're going Gamergate 2 over bandwidth.
Because of bandwidth.
They will. It will happen.
Sorry, but why would the government want to limit bandwidth if possible?
And who gives a shit? It's games. They're low bandwidth by comparison to things like Netflix and shit.
The quartering has made a video on this, and he wants it to happen.
Of course, he wants it always to happen.
Yeah. Also, I think it was Germany or Italy saying that everyone needs to turn down their streaming quality on Netflix all the way down because they're having bandwidth problems.
Netflix is the major hog.
Right.
How does this work? How is there like? I mean, I thought that South Park episode of overlogging on was like a joke, but like, what? How is there like less bandwidth? I mean, I get that there's less workers, but how does that?
No, there's more people using the system than normal. That's what they mean by less bandwidth.
Oh,
strain on the system, mate. Yeah, it's like there's a strain on the hospital system for similar reasons. Too many people using it right now. Well, a lot of the thing is that people don't quite understand why this social distancing thing needed to happen. And the reasoning being is, if there's too many of you motherfuckers coming into the hospital, you're going to die. They can save you, but they can't save all of you if they don't have enough ventilators. You'll just die. Yeah, they have to choose whether you'll actually live or not and decide to save the one that's probably going to live more than the one that is probably going to die. So this is why they want you to stay away from people for a while, so that when you do get it, if you do get it, there's enough ventilators to keep you alive while you recover. Really simple shit. So if anybody's listening, yeah, please stay indoors. It's not that difficult. I mean, come on, you're a hermit anyway. You can manage this.
The Corona slogan should be "Go home and wank."
Hey,
Oh, hey, Silver.
Robin.
Christopher.
And hey, Wamu.
Hey. So guess what?
Stay at home and jack off is the safest thing you can do.
So I found the ruler of Athens. Guess what's gonna happen?
He's gonna die, isn't he?
Dude, he just offered me to do all this stuff for him, and I'm like, I'm gonna do all this, and then I'm gonna kill him.
Me and Chris at the moment are playing Assassin's Creed, the Greek one.
Wait, are you doing that on bandwidth?
No.
No.
Hey, that's the Assassin's Creed we get to be a cock ring.
I'm actually using up a lot of bandwidth by doing this, by the way, so I'm doing this for everyone's benefit. Or, well,
Yay, benefit!
yeah.
What's he doing?
No, I'm streaming this.
Using up the bandwidth.
I'm streaming this, Chris.
Basically, Robin's part of the problem. Not us. We're just actors.
You're the problem.
I tried being part of the solution, and it just didn't mix with me very well. What can one do?
Do you want to hear something ridiculous?
What can one do?
Always.
I looked up. I was looking at webcams for a friend because I'm starting to stream like a D&D thing, right? And I looked at my webcam, my current model that I've got, which is a C920 Logitech, and they are now £250.
Webcams.
Yeah, the webcams have like this. They're selling like hotcakes because people have to be at home and they want to communicate with others and they want to start online businesses because of their current businesses are unreliable. So a lot more people are going to become self-employed.
Yay, competition!
Yeah, a lot more people are going to be that way because it's just it makes sense because of the vulnerability is having an employer, but when you don't have that vulnerability and you've got all these people online buying shit from you, you're going to be...
That's never a vulnerable position to be in, is it? At the whims of people on the internet.
Well, you're still at the whims of the people...
I feel so safe.
You're still at the whims of the people, like, in general public as well. But...
God, I hate them.
I think... but I think because people have seen that, like, their jobs are really... actually quite temporary, they're not as secure as they thought, they're probably going to be a lot more creativity going online.
Yay!
Well, I mean, speaking of creativity and self-employment, time to shell. I recently reached 200 strips in my Schmaltzy series. So I have been formatting a book, and I don't have the capital to print the book just yet, but it's something on the horizon.
You could put it in as an ebook and do it under like $1.98, and you can keep all the profits.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the profits would just go to like printing the actual book, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's
do it as an ebook, and if you put that up on Amazon, I've researched all this because I need to do it for my guitar books. If you put it up on Amazon, you would only need to make like 40 sales a day to have a really good wage, and there's billions of people on Amazon every day.
Huh.
So you'll be fine if you did it and then you explain what the concept is clearly, and you got good design art for the front cover and back cover.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of weird because I'm kind of doing this the wrong way around. Like, the way that you're supposed to do it is get syndicated and do the newspaper thing, and then after a while, someone comes to your house and roots through all your stuff and finds all your comics and then puts it into a book and then sells a book. I have not become syndicated yet, but I would like to release a book.
Well, you don't need to be syndicated to release stuff. You just release stuff. That's the way you make money.
Still, it's like it's one of those milestones that I think, like, I don't know, the type of strip that it is.
You never know that the releasing that ebook would probably put you onto being syndicated. It could work the other way around, and you don't know these things. So you might as well
I suppose so. That's a good point, I guess. But yeah.
Happen.
And of course, you left it on a cliffhanger because, yeah, always a great way to write yourself into a corner before you make any more.
Well, step one
but-
writing was find a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and then work backwards. That's
Yeah.
Hey, Robin. Guess what? I'm up to 300,000 points. Ah! I've been number crunching all day.
Does anybody want to know why the wanking thing was trending? Because I actually know.
Pornhub is free now, so probably pretty good.
No, it was a German hospital put a sign up on the door saying, "Wash your hands like you've just been chopping chilies and you're going home to have a wank."
Oh.
well, I mean, that is certainly, creative.
Sensible.
Gets the point across, and you're not going to forget that message. That's
You're
the
not going to
important
forget
thing.
after you do it once. So it only takes one time.
I did put it in the side chat, but I think it refused the word wank, so it deleted it.
Okay, drug resistance disease. Drug resistance is generally when it comes to bacterial infections and things like that. Rick, because Rick's obviously asking about pandemics. Please understand the difference between the viruses and the bacteria.
Yeah, you can't really. You can design a vaccine for a virus, but viruses work by infecting your own cells and using basically the cellular machinery to make more of the virus. Gets into. It's a bit scary, but it gets into your DNA. But so does flu. Generally, you do combat it eventually. The only way you can combat it is, say, if you can get parts of a virus, so not the full thing, and it's not functional, introduce it to the system in the form of a vaccine, and then your body mounts a immune response to that, and then when you do get a live form of the virus, your body remembers that, releases B cells or white blood cells, and that basically stops the virus before it infects one of your cells.
Do you know
that's what we're aiming to?
Do you know there's an interesting tale about how the word vaccine came around? Do you know what this is actually from? Smallpox. This is actually from smallpox. Believe it or not, the vaccine for smallpox came about by a fellow who had who had noticed that milkmaids weren't getting it, and so I can't remember the name of the
Jenner, no silver strike.
But he basically I believe he infected his gardener's son with cowpox, and then infected his gardener's son with smallpox to test. It's a very, very trusting.
Mine's ethical.
Yeah, well, we are. This is back in the day, mate. And yeah.
Well, the original vaccines as well, because basically you want an inactive form or parts of either the virus or the bacteria so that your body learns what it looks like.
Indeed.
Put simply.
However, the cowpox thing was something that the body could handle and was similar enough to smallpox to be able to warrant something that would be considered a vaccine. And the isn't a vax something named after a cow or something? Isn't that an Italian word for cow?
I can't remember, but the very first vaccines you actually made by taking a knife and cutting in to a person with the disease, cutting into one of their pustules, because that is basically just bacteria. Then you take that and you heat it up until the bacteria is dead, but still present, but it's dead bacteria.
Identifiable is the most important thing. As long as the body can identify it, then it can work out a way to kill it.
Well, it's all about lock and key. It's like a shape that's how your antibodies work. They recognize the shape of something foreign, and they agglutinate it, which basically is like a dog pile, and then your white blood cells will come along, see the marker, and they know I need to ingest that.
You
And
forgot about the
basically
T
dissolve
cells
it with
thing.
bleach.
You forgot about the T cells thing.
Well, you've got your T cells and you've got your B cells. Your B cells are the ones that remember infections, and they're released by your bone marrow, hence B cells, and T cells are released by your thymus.
They're the identifiers.
Yeah.
T cells make you turn into zombies in a really huge, just depressing way.
That's true. It's so true. But yeah. So basically, you heat up the pus from the person, and then you cut a person and you put that into their bloodstream, basically just under the skin, and then you react to the dead bacteria. And then when you get the live bacteria, you'll actually mount an immune response before it makes you ill. It's pretty neat. But also, antibiotics are a bit different. Basically, they have their origins in feeding people very small amounts of arsenic. And the idea being that bacteria are a lot smaller than you are. And so, given a certain amount of poison, you can think of it a bit like bug spray. Enough bug spray would kill you, but the idea is that it kills the smaller thing before it kills you. Those have gotten more sophisticated, where it doesn't have as much damage to yourself as it does to the bacteria, apart from a bit of liver issues, because obviously you need to get rid of that drug. But basically they target cellular processes in bacteria.
I don't know.
Instead. So that's basically antibiotics and antimicrobials.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is why
chicken.
This is why the whole malaria thing isn't really a thing, because like malaria is microbial, so it isn't a virus. Malaria's been around since the fucking day of the dinosaurs, man. So there's people talking about anti-malarial drugs. If anything, all that's going to do is basically just, if anything, it's probably like getting rid of infections of what do they call it? Infections of opportunity, isn't it? When your immune system's down.
Just wait though. Just wait, right? Wait until the climate change has gone completely irreversible and we start releasing ancient pathogens from the permafrost.
Oh,
just
dude.
wait till that happens.
Okay. Just let me throw a lot of cold water on that fireworks display that you've got arranged. No offense, but if you can imagine, think War of the Worlds for a second. We're not trapped on this planet with them. They're also trapped with us, and we've had billions of years of evolution to work out new and interesting ways to fuck them, while they've been sitting there in a freezer. Yeah. So the idea that these pathogens are going to come out and just start tearing through the population is hilarious to me. They don't stand a chance.
There's an issue with that though, but there's an issue with that as well though, and that's namely plasmids. Are you aware of what they are?
Plasmids?
Yes, and if you're thinking Bioshock, not too far off. What do the plasmids in Bioshock do?
Oh my god. I don't pay attention like that.
They give you
I'm too busy killing zombies.
Okay, they give you superpowers. Exactly. Bacteria, the name actually comes from small rings of DNA that give different bacteria different abilities. They can actually pass these plasmids between each other. So in a way, they actually evolve during the same generational life cycle. So they don't need to have like a change which they then pass on to the next generation. They can do it that way, but they can actually swap DNA with each other. So say a person doesn't take antibiotics properly and keeps it just under the level where it's going to kill off all the bacteria, and some maybe survive and start developing an antibiotic resistance that's coded for by this plasmid, which it can then pass on to another bacteria. And this is why they say you need to take a full course of antibiotics, because we are actually starting to run out of viable antibiotics.
I am a
We
person.
keep coming up with new ones.
I'm a
but,
person who almost died because of this particular thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big issue in terms of antibiotic resistance. But yes, it should be separated from viruses, which aren't so much celled organisms so much as just like computer program.
I consider them like if bacteria was an animal, a virus would be a seed, if you will, or a fungus,
or kind of like an insect. They're just mechanical in nature. They're not acting on sensory inputs, or flies do and stuff. But
I think they're alive. I think they're a different form of life than we're used to thinking about. I think a lot of
the thing is,
if you have a look inside
move.
but in most cells, for example, I mean, you look at an individual human cell, and it's not really much of an autonomous thing on its own, really.
Well, it can react to changes in its environment, and it can move.
But so can a rock.
No, it can't.
Of course it can. If I see a rock on top of a hill and I push it, it runs away from me.
You pushed it. It didn't move on its own.
That's right. That's what reacting to things are. That's what it does. That's what a reaction is.
No, it's about sense. It needs to be able to sense chemical or physical changes.
Yes, and that's a reactionary thing. A rock is sensing me pushing on it, and thus reacting against it.
Basically, you've got the Mrs. Gran or Mr. Snurg classification of life, and you need to fulfill all those categories for something to be named alive. Yes, it's a silly name, but basically, movement, respiration, sense, nutrition, excretion. Yes, everybody poops. That's the category of life. To the smallest bacteria, to the biggest sperm whale, everybody poops. And then...
this is brilliant.
Sexual reproduction.
One of our resident racists has just said this. After this...
Growth.
One of our resident racists just said, after this, let Made in China be a name of a badge of shame. Hashtag coronavirus.
This is a thing.
Alison Pearson says that. Tweeted from an iPhone. Yes.
That you bastard. That was what I was going to say.
Well, I fucking started it. I get to get the punchline. That's how it works. Stay in your lane.
If we call it China virus or Wuhan virus, can we call swine flu American pig virus? Or is that? I mean, it's only fair.
It's like
Spanish flu started in Kansas.
And the Spanish flu was called the Spanish flu because it was only the Spaniards that were talking about it.
It also killed one of their royal family.
It was during the First World War, so a lot of people didn't want to really give a bunch of news that would piss everybody off, except the Spanish. And so they ended up calling it the Spanish flu because of it, but it didn't even originate in Spain. They were just the only ones willing to say anything about it.
BRB.
I hope the coronavirus becomes the English flu.
Oh,
in the same way.
Aren't you a magnanimous type?
Do you know what I mean by that?
Brexit flu.
No, do you know what I mean by that? Because the Spanish flu is called the Spanish flu because it killed some of the Spanish monarchy.
Well, no, it was called the Spanish flu because it was only the Spaniards talking about it. Everybody else didn't say a goddamn thing because they were still in war mode, and they didn't want to tell anybody any other bad news. It was only the Spaniards that were actually breaking protocols as far as the news. Everyone was under lock and key as far as what was being said. That's why it ended up with that name. Zero to do with it being Spanish, everything to do with the fact that the Spaniards were talking about it. Oh my god.
Yeah, but sorry. Viruses are no more alive than they don't. Viruses don't grow. They don't reproduce on their own. They need a host. They don't move. They can't sense things. They don't have any nutrition. They don't excrete anything. Yeah, they're not alive. They're more like just pieces of machinery.
Oh, interesting to note. We've got a new one for you here, guys. We've had our first deaths from people drinking chloroquine phosphate.
Under the orders of Donald Trump.
A couple in their 60s have died after ingesting this additive that they use in aquariums.
Yeah, that was in the Independent earlier.
Yeah, I'm looking at Banner Health. Banner Health experts warn against self-medicating. No shit.
Again, the thing is it's not going to work. It might work on a bacteria, but only in a very inefficient way. Like I said, with like arsenic or antibiotics, the idea is that it kills the small thing before it kills you. But viruses aren't alive. There's nothing to kill. So drinking aquarium cleaning fluid or whatever is not going to do anything for a virus. I just want to make that absolutely clear.
I actually want to do the REM song and do Everybody Poops sometimes. I'm gonna do that.
Shouty happy people.
I'll put it on TikTok and become TikTok famous.
No. What it should be is everybody sharts.
It is true though. And even
everybody sharts. Sometimes everybody sharts.
But actually, as a exercise into the 7 categories of life, I did actually look into like a hypothetical, which is do Cybermen poop? And considering they take in nutrition because they must do to keep their brains alive, because that's the squishy organic brain in there, and that's going to produce waste products. Yeah,
I'm sure
Cybermen
they have
poop.
I'm pretty sure they have a catheter fitted.
Here's the biggest question.
Though.
Here's the biggest question of like the fantasy genre and the sci-fi genre, right? How does Vader poop?
People stick to this like shit.
How does Darth Vader poop?
That's what that giant pod is. The one that puts his helmet. It's just a very big toilet.
you know that his legs are fake and stuff. It's just like how because he got completely decimated because of the high ground.
No, he did not. No, he was not decimated. I want to get this absolutely clear. To be decimated is to lose 10%. Now, unless you can give me a full figure as to what percentage that he lost of himself, I'm going to have to stamp my feet down on this. I'm a man of words. And if you're going to pervert words, I'm going to come down on you like a ton of dictionaries.
You could use the formula they use for burns, which is the rule of 9s, which basically you add all the pieces up, it adds up to 99, and then the final 1% is your groin.
Right.
So you could calculate it that way. So how many arms did he lose?
Both of them.
So that's 18.
Okay.
Both legs?
Both his legs.
54.
He's just basically a torso.
And a head.
And a head, yeah.
63.
That's a percentage for you, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so
63%.
decimated. No, sorry. Can't have that.
And it was a joke.
What about
Pick a different word.
Hexadecimated.
Yes, he was hexadecimated. This we can go with. Okay? I think everybody in the scientific community can get behind that.
How does Vader poop?
Probably with anal cannula. Anal catheter, rather. They do have them.
With the Force?
I think
he probably uses Force.
Well, Force was definitely involved.
I bet he uses his hands. He just sort of just grips his hands like that and sort of grips hold of the poop and then just pulls it out.
Oh, I thought you meant on the tube.
But using the Force, so like he does with people's throats, but he just does that basically, but with his with his
So
with his anus.
Vader is a chili juicer. Okay.
That's if that floats your boat, then yes, consider your boat floated.
Peristalsis, the normal way.
Yeah, squeezy.
It's how your body does it. And as you said, it was a torso. You still got a torso, so it's peristalsis.
Peristalsis is basically, what you do to those, those squishy water toys that are basically like a really long donut, and like it's like one hand over the other, and like it flies out of your hands and stuff. Imagine that, but your colon. That's what your colon does.
Eating an iced pop, you squeeze it to get the ice to come up the tube, don't you?
Peristalsis.
That's peristalsis.
There we go. You see, that's what he uses, but with the Force.
With his hands and
I bet that's how he massages his prostate as well.
But one last thing on the 7 categories of life. Interesting outlier that's almost enough to be categorized as life is fire, bar, the sex, and the sensing.
Well, that's a really big thing when it comes to being alive, isn't it? Wanting to fuck things.
No, because if you think about it, it takes in nutrition, it grows, it reproduces, it can move, and it excretes. Right. It's very close to being what.
Yes, but so does a black hole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't. Does it really excrete anything though?
Yeah, it does.
I suppose you could say the
going to draw stuff in.
Yeah.
It's got to go out somewhere.
No, that's not the case. But a black hole does, or at least we think, emits Hawking radiation.
You could say the singularity is its waste product, I suppose. Yeah.
No. I was thinking Hawking radiation.
Yeah.
That is an excretion.
Yeah. But it's very interesting because it's like defining life is incredibly difficult, especially when we've arrived at these 7, you get outliers that are related to life.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. At one point, we thought elements included earth, wind, fire, and water. So.
But basically viruses are RNA, which is kind of related to DNA, similar structure, bar a few substitutions. So that's just rogue DNA, basically. It's RNA.
When I hear about this, you see, I think of RNA as a precursor, sort of to single cell life forms and things like that. So I think that this is a life form that is stuck within that particular paradigm.
Well, again, it's not really life. It's a result of life, but it's not alive in itself. The same way that prions aren't life either. They're just rogue proteins. Basically, it's why we call computer viruses like viruses as well. That can just start from random bits of code that aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and it originates from somewhere else.
No, that's a bug. No, viruses are written. Viruses are written. Yeah, they're exploits.
Oh well, that's bad terminology then.
Absolutely, yeah. What you were talking about is bugs.
Right. Well, a bug is a virus in the biological world.
No, it's not. You're actually now getting confused with the bacteria versus virus thing. A bug is something that just basically comes up in the programming where the programmers fuck shit up.
No, that's what a virus is.
No, a virus is something where a programmer has actually purposefully done such a thing.
No. I mean, in the natural world, a virus is just something that comes about by accident. So
it's more like a bug than a virus.
Yes, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, we do acquire a lot of this because it actually injects itself into your DNA. You can actually carry that and pass that on to the next generation. And maybe in a couple of generations, a lot of this garbage DNA actually encodes for something that gives you maybe an advantage over the rest of your species.
Or you die.
Or you die.
Or you die.
Most of the time.
I'm just waiting to be Wolverine. I want to be Wolverine.
Well, I mean, it's interesting.
I want to be able to walk on the sun without dying.
At the same time,
You can't walk on the sun. It's gas.
at the same time, as bad as viruses are, they do actually allow us to do something incredible, because since they can access the DNA of a cell, it means that they have given us the keys to actually get into DNA and muck around with it. We can insert things, we can delete things, genetic defects we could eliminate, or we could make glow-in-the-dark rabbits, which is what we've been doing for quite a while. And that's a real thing. You can look that up. Basically, we took a gene from a jellyfish that encoded for an enzyme that makes the jellyfish glow in the dark. We put it into a zygote, that's a single cell of a rabbit before it divides and turns into the organism. Rabbits, because they grow up quickly. And yeah, those rabbits glow in the dark. Now, here's the cool part. If we can do that with...
Rabbits?
Well, no. We're going to move on from rabbits, okay?
No, I was
Rabbits
just
are a
helping
nice
you. You were
novelty.
saying if we can do that with rabbits, then we can do other things with humans, for example.
Well,
Glow-in-the-dark people.
There's glow-in-the-dark people. That's an option, sure. But more specifically, and it originated in Manchester, this idea, what if we could, and this is a bit difficult because we're going from animal to plant, if we could put that into a tree seed, what's the functional purpose of that? What would that tree grow into?
I don't know if it would.
It would creep around and sting people.
Well, the problem is that it's a protein that they're using, isn't it?
But if we could somehow get the tree to produce this enzyme, which plants do, and glow, what do you have there functionally?
Not a lot. But why not take it from other plants?
You'd reduce the need for streetlights.
Exactly.
You should have glowing trees.
Biological street light that will never require electricity.
Yes, but also, of course, biological street lights that are now obviously interfering with things like insects, birds, all kinds.
Yeah, but come on, when did we ever really worry about that?
But that's kind of been the problem.
Nah, glow in the dark trees. Come on,
I think a glow in the dark bonsai tree I would love, but I don't want to replace it with streetlights. To be honest with you, I'd prefer something with a bulb.
Streetlights.
Wayne's World.
But the whole like turning you into Wolverine, the problem is that when, like with the rabbits, that was one cell that we changed. That's easy.
Because then it folded.
A fully grown organism, yeah, it gets a lot more complicated because just like viruses, if a cell is detected that there's a genetic change or there's an abnormality with the cell, generally the body is going to mount an immune response as soon as it can determine what is different.
Well, they like to explode, don't they?
Yeah. Called apoptosis, but cell death is stimulated.
Apoptosis. They've gone with that name, is it? Apop.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. What does it do? It pops.
It does kind of pop, actually.
Yeah.
But
like all the surrounding
but the
cells
thing is,
around the virus-infected cell will just explode just out of nowhere.
Yeah. And also mucking around with DNA has issues with, say, cancer and whatnot, because that's genetic degradation.
Always a tricky one.
Well.
Yeah. Back in a moment.
So, like, what you'd need to do is somehow simultaneously change every cell in the body that would be affected by that genetic change so that becomes the new norm, which, again, is easy when it's a single cell, because then every cell that separates from that shares that gene. But when it's a fully grown organism, it's a bit more difficult. Although we are experimenting with things like biolistics, which I think is such a cool name, where you take gold nanoparticles that are small enough to pierce cells right into the DNA and target specific sequences. So basically it's like a million little golden bullets running through your body at once. So yeah, that's biolistics, which is kind of cool. Other than that, yeah, it's a bit difficult. Because essentially you're using viruses to change the genetic code.
I want to become Virus Man.
Half man, half virus.
All cancer.
Sound like an advert.
The only problem with that is you'll be domestos.
No.
Oh no!
Okay.
It's my arch enemy, antibacterial wipe.
There you go. You see, you haven't thought this through, have you?
But that's the thing as well. Like, you know, I was saying about antimicrobials and stuff. Bleach, technically, is an antimicrobial, and ingested in very, very small amounts will have the functional effect, possibly killing a bacterial infection. But there are much more efficient methods of that, so do not drink bleach, because it will damage you.
Seriously damage you.
Yes. So, like, I don't want to give any like fuel to people that believe in bleach wonder cures and stuff. But I'm just saying that there's no scientific evidence that supports it isn't
Holy
technically
shit.
true. But what?
We've hit threat level orange.
does that mean?
Boris Johnson has changed from "you should stay at home" to "you must stay at home."
Yeah, that happened about nearly 4 hours ago.
Yeah, it's just that like he was giving it as advice rather than a demand or a request.
Well, the thing is that his request fell on deaf ears. This is the problem. A lot of these people are going, I don't want a government telling me what to do. Well, now the government's actually telling you what to do. Because you decided that you needed to go to the fucking park.
Did you see the Tesco zombies? Did you see the video of the Tesco zombies? Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Check this out. I'm going to put this in a thing, and if you want to share it to your stream, I don't know if you're into that.
I don't blame them. I don't blame those people at all. Do you know who I blame?
Yeah, but it's dumb.
No, do you know what's dumb? Bulk buying a bunch of stuff so the stocks are unable to cope, and then people are having to go to whatever the fuck shop they can find that might have food in it. That's what fucked those people up. Do you think those people had choice as to where they were going?
The worst thing about that, I think, is like the medical workers that get there after a really long shift and there's nothing left for them. Like I saw a video about, with a nurse like that.
Lead.
Yeah, that just said, can you stop it? Because like she's one of the people that's going to be looking after your dumbass when you land in hospital.
Check it out. It's in stream chat, Melody. Check that out.
I'm checking it out.
It's dumb as fuck.
Oh my god.
Imagine if one person was infected there, they'd all be infected.
Oh, well, that was the thing with like the football matches as well. Like, and they were so like, in the early days when they were so like saying that, oh, if we shut down the football matches, they'd just go to the pub. And I was like, oh yeah, one of those those pubs that hold like 5,000 people. I forgot about those places.
They do exist, mainly in Bristol. But the thing is that that's not strictly true what you were saying about all of those people would catch it. These things
they all have a chance of catching it.
The thing is it's a bit like a fire. Now, if I throw a lit match at you, you might be all right. Now, if I throw a gasoline on you, you're going to be on fire, and anyone near you is going to catch fire. Well, when it comes to these sort of things, you're getting thrown lit matches or maybe a splash of gasoline or whatever like that. Depending on how much you get is going to be dependent on how fast others can contract it from you. Somebody sneezes on your face, mate. Somebody sneezes on your face. The only way they're going to catch it off you immediately is if you start rubbing your face on somebody else.
Put it this way. This is not like the normal flu. The normal flu can affect it can give you like a transfer rate of like 1.4. The coronavirus is a transfer rate of 3.
Indeed.
But at the end point, if you did like a tenth power to the rate of the infection, a normal flu would infect 14 people, and the coronavirus would infect 50,000 from one person.
Well, that's more to do with. You've got to understand. I'm talking to you about a big room of people. One person's got it. Let's say the likelihood of everyone getting that is 0. Unless it's
if they're doing nothing and standing stationary.
No, mate. Imagine the person who's got the virus fucking has a massive sneezing fit and sneezes over 5 people. They've got it. They're not going to give it to anybody else. Not for a couple of days. They've got to let that sink in a little bit before they start fucking throwing it around.
Right, but then you've also got to factor in like the amount of things that person touches. Like if they've sneezed on their hand.
See, that's more like it, definitely. But we're still stuck in the realms of just because you're in a room, one of you has got it. That does not mean everybody else will.
But that's only if they're standing stationary and they don't breathe.
No, I'm talking about the fact that when you get a disease, you don't instantly pass it on to somebody else. It's not how these sort of things work, unless it is entirely infectious. Like 100%, you're going to get that. You're talking about it being the difference, but you can see that when you actually exponentially increase. Yes, the difference between the flu virus and the corona is huge, absolutely. But they're still starting from one person in a room with 50 others who are all doing their own little bit of shopping. It's not quite. You're looking at it at the exponential bit at the end. I'm talking about it at the very beginning.
I'm looking at it as like people being people, and this will eventually happen because of they have it.
Yes, but there's not. You don't generally go into a Tesco's, for example, and the first thing you think to do is walk over to the fruit stall and sneeze on it, and then rub your face all over it. You just don't think to do that, do you? That's what it would take for everyone to get it. It's just not part of our makeup as people.
Have you seen those teenagers being absolutely fucking stupid and licking things?
Yeah, and I hope they go and visit their grandparents. I hope they go visit their grandparents and they die and they suffer the guilt of that for the rest of their lives and then commit suicide a year or 2 later.
That's awful.
I know it's really harsh, but it's fair, and that's the important thing.
Maybe.
Well, have you seen the honorary patriarch of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine? Apparently,
well, not really. It's not really part of my YouTube viewing list, to be honest.
Well, apparently, he's the cause of the coronavirus. First and foremost, is same-sex marriages.
Oh, no longer. At least we're no longer blaming the weather.
Okay.
Or bats.
Well, considering my same-sex partner is several thousand miles away in Canada, I'm gonna call bull on this.
I think
and
it's
again,
your fault.
coronavirus is here and in Canada. Maybe
I think he's projecting his guilt because it's not shades. It's up.
I think my connection is breaking up. What with the overlooking?
That was his.
No, it's Chris. He's got an excellent signal. It's like a terabyte, like a gigabit internet, but for some reason or another, just pops out. It's fucked up.
I'm sorry, because I'm not close enough to the microphone.
Ah. But yeah, he has got a really nice system. How fast can you download stuff, Chris? Make everyone jealous.
Depends on the server.
What's the fastest you can download?
He's downloading.
The fastest I've ever downloaded?
No, what's the fastest you could theoretically?
Well, I've downloaded at 800 before.
Chris, the real question we want to know is how much of the internet have you downloaded, percentage-wise?
We usually, in my household, we usually use about 1.5 terabytes of every month.
So
Damn.
like
That's not even trying. Okay.
So you're the one that we come to when the bandwidth is all gone. Because you'll just have the entire internet cached.
Trying to
Chris?
take in all
I
the
was
stuff
installing
that-
my graphics. Mental.
just trying to compend everything that Trump's been saying. It's just
It was pretty
Hey.
bad.
Oh, I just watched a video about him. It was on Dirty Money.
you really need to get to your microphone. Can't hear a word. No, the doctor that appeared by his side for the last couple of days isn't there. Apparently they fell out. Trump's listening to his son-in-law because his son-in-law knows so much about medicine. Obvious person to turn to.
I'm gonna watch Westworld.
Oh yeah, Westworld. The third season's. I didn't know there was going to be a third season.
Oh,
There's so much. Sorry, go on.
I thought he meant the film with Yul Brynner.
That's a good movie, but no, Silver, you need to get with the times. It's all sexy action drama now.
No.
Yeah, it's good. Maeve and all that good stuff.
I don't have
and
Netflix.
Maze and Anthony Hopkins, Silver.
Yeah.
You're a bit tempted now.
No, I don't have Netflix.
Well, just stream it.
I can't afford it. As if I'd do something like that.
Yeah, no, of course not.
I really
Definitely do not type into Google watch blank online for free and then select like the fourth one down. Do not do that. Is just
I would never do that.
Piracy is what that is.
I certainly don't have any VIP sports channels.
Hey, look, Robin. I got a new book. I got Achilles.
God, you keep breaking up. And it's bloody annoying.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff out at the moment. There's Westworld, Beastars. If you've not seen it yet, that's pretty good. Picard, Better Call Saul.
I've not seen Breaking Bad.
Doctor Who, not so much at the minute.
I've seen a lot of Doctor Who.
Yeah, what did you think of Time Lord Cybermen? I don't understand how that works. If they regenerate, how in the heck do you undergo the Cybermen procedure? Wouldn't you just regenerate before that would happen?
No, Neo-Normie. I very much doubt that Biden is dead.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautifully.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, how did Time Lord Cybermen work?
Well, they're not dead, are they? They only regenerate at death, and soon as Cybermen aren't dead.
Yeah, but then when one of the Cybermen was killed and then doesn't regenerate as a Time Lord, regenerates as a Cyber Time Lord.
I don't know.
Oh man.
I quite enjoyed Jodie Whittaker as an actress. I think she's very good. I'm not a huge fan of having...
And showrunner.
Yeah, I think it's bad writing and too many flaming assistants.
Oh yeah, no, I like Graham
because
though.
it dilutes the story.
Right,
they've all got to have...
Do you agree?
Hey,
with
Robin,
me?
check it.
Do you agree with me? It should have just been Jodie and Graham, because that would have been an interesting role reversal from the usual thing, like Capaldi and Clara and stuff. And
yeah, that would have been...
Yeah, instead
yeah,
like
I get that, except I don't like Graham.
What? Graham's all right. He's out of all the
good actor.
I find him the most bearable.
He's not a good actor.
I know,
He's a comedian.
but
He's not even that.
Well, no, officially he is a comedian. You know, he wasn't that good a comedian. While I think about it, no,
I like Yaz as well. I suppose.
Yeah,
Not the biggest fan of Ryan the Plank. It's just
no. I don't. Yeah, why did they have to start chucking Cockneys in it? You know, what was wrong with having Northerners? You know,
but
lad,
like
lad.
The biggest issue I have of all, though, is that they threw in a regeneration of the Doctor that I think is ultimately a more interesting
guys, I'm
character
back.
than the current Doctor
I've
that we
returned.
have.
I've returned.
Hello. But yeah, I think no Doctor.
I thought we had
is
this rule
just-
in place by now.
What? That there's no Doctor Who talk?
I'm here now. You had your chance while we were away. I was smoking
wasn't
a
aware
cigarette.
that you were away. We're talking about Doctor Who now. So
He does.
I wasn't. You were.
You're the only ones talking
like-
about Doctor Who.
I think Joe Doctor is just she's like as
They
much
just
as I
don't care.
like Jodie, it's just more interesting character, and that's difficult because
This is
you've
why Trump won.
introduced you've introduced a second Doctor character that's more interesting than the one that we're following, and it's like.
Interesting character, definitely, but he's going to cut us off in a minute.
At any minute.
See,
I'm getting.
well, what else has Trump done?
Hasn't he done, you mean? It's probably a better way of saying it. It's
well-
easier to count. Hello, things could get dicey.
Hello.
Why have you called yourself Things Could Get Dicey?
Because I am doing a D&D stream.
Oh, I thought you were like running a gambling channel or something.
I get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm probably gonna have to sign off here. I'm getting a bit sleepy. So I'll talk to you guys next time. But
No worries.
it was fun
No worries.
chatting about
Take care.
Doctor Who and COVID and what makes.
I'm sure we'll have.
something
I might do a few of these over the week, keep everybody interested, because otherwise we're all going to get very bored, aren't we?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll sign off now then. It was a pleasure coming around to the thing and tip John and make sure that
Yeah, John's at home. He's self-isolating at the moment. To be honest
Yeah,
with you,
yeah, I figured he might be. I've not
he
seen
kind
him.
of started self-isolating quite a while ago, actually. I'm a bit worried about the guy. to be honest.
Last year, before even there was any talk of any virus and stuff, he's being proactive. He's getting ahead of the game. I think it's good. I think you should pay him more.
We pay him? All right,
Anyway,
okay.
I'll see you guys
News
in
to
a
me.
bit. Bye.
See you later.
Oh, James Woods, I'm not for conspiracy theories, he says. But the geographical coincidence alone is pretty unsettling. Oh my god. I fucking can't stand people who say that. I'm not for conspiracy theories, but... And they fucking do it all the time.
Yeah, his last conspiracy theory was that Biden
Yesterday.
would get into power. Biden would get into power and nominate Hillary Clinton as his VP, and then drop out of the government and give the.
He's just a fucking ass. Yeah, mate.
He should start writing movies rather than starring in them, to be honest, because he's got plenty of plots lying around.
Talking about that one guy who was crying about being isolated in his Beverly Hills mansion.
No, James Woods we're talking about. Conspiracy theorist par excellence.
Oh, that might even be worse because, well, the reason why I brought it up is I'm trying to think of his name, but oh yeah, Sam Smith was crying about how he's in an emotional meltdown because of the quarantine. And I'm like, yeah, I think the French had the right idea in the 1700s.
Ka-ching!
I love these fucking guys here. Like, I've run this sort of, like, it's called ANCOP versus ANCOM. I prefer to call it Capcom. So it's like anarchist capitalists versus anarchist communists. And it's basically the most mentally redundant idiots on the internet arguing about who's right. And I'm sitting here kind of going, you're both wrong. And so it's interesting to me that somebody was complaining, very upset. Senators urge Jeff Bezos to give Amazon warehouse workers sick leave and hazard pay. And somebody turned around and kind of said, why should a business owner be threatened with jail time if they don't pay someone who doesn't provide them a service? I'm sitting there kind of going, sick pay and hazard pay. Are you not even reading? He turns around and kind of goes, yeah, did they mean paid sick leave? It's like, yeah, paid. So that you retain the person afterwards. Believe it or not, you need employees in order to run your business? Kind of a thing.
Do you want to hear a more
it's kind of hard to run a business if all your employees are hospitalized.
Yeah. If I went off sick and my boss goes, you're fired, well, I'm going to go get a new job, ain't I? They got to go find themselves a new employee.
Do you want to hear a more ridiculous group of people? You ready?
Sure.
Anarcho-primitivists.
What?
Have you heard of this? Have you heard of this before?
Yeah.
Fucking Christ on a cracker, yes I did.
Anyone who says anarcho before any sort of identity is a fucking lemon.
Well,
But
yeah,
do you know what it
work.
actually is? They're trying to champion going back to a time where the cavemen lived, and they want things to be like back to like a sense of nature and like hippies to the nth degree where it's gone wrong. So they want things to be before technology because they believe technology's fucked up the planet. They're so fucking warped.
Right, so they want us to go back to a time when we died in our 30s. Makes sense.
Mm.
Yep.
There's always jobs available, though.
It's always driven.
Gravedigger.
I mean, I'm all for nature and like outdoorsy stuff, but that's a little extreme. I have a home.
Well, we'll be digging plague pits soon.
They are so concerned that we've shifted from the hunter-gatherer to agricultural subsistence, and it gave rise to social stratification, coercion, alienation, and overpopulation. So they want a cull of people, and they want people to go back to a time where technology wasn't such a thing.
Well, so they want
so
a cull of people. Let me guess, they're not willing to volunteer themselves.
Probably not.
There's a lot of this in anarchist worlds. They really love the idea of loads of people dying. That's the one thing I've noticed with anarchists. They can't wait for like society to collapse so they can start fucking murdering people they don't like. It's pretty much it. That's the underlying thing I'm seeing. Anarchists just want the excuse to be able to murder people without any recourse, really. It seems.
Wait, what?
Yeah, pretty much. Most anarchists and comms and caps, all this sort of business, they're like, you hear them kind of go, well, yeah, you need the police to stop people robbing your house, and go, yeah, but I can shoot them in the face. So they got their little excuse to murder somebody there. And when you ask...
Yeah, but let's be honest, though. How many primitivists would actually kill someone with a gun? Probably all of them, as opposed to just a sharpened stick.
Yeah, they just rip them to bits and eat their brain. I mean, if you're going to go...
Just come at you in hordes.
Yeah, I mean, what else? What else are you going to fucking do?
It's World War Z.
Yeah.
Fucking... Oh my god. This is how it starts. They're all carriers.
Well, there were primitive tribes. There were primitive tribes that used to be running around, basically just murdering whole villages and eating them. This used to happen.
Cannibals?
Yeah.
Oy.
Well, color me fucked.
color you fuck?
It's a kind of pink.
What shading is that? All right, thank you.
Probably white, maybe a little bit of red mixed in it.
Have you seen about the owner of Sports Direct? You know, with lockdown, it's essential shops to stay open. He's decided that Sports Direct is an essential store and should stay on there, have to stay open.
Is it who said
What is
this?
Sports Direct?
I'm trying to remember his name.
They sell shoes.
No, they sell sports equipment.
They sell shoes.
Because
they don't. They have sports equipment in the building, but they sell shoes.
You know, in America, there's like a logo of a chain of shops which has like the black and white stripes with the hat.
Foot Locker.
Yeah, Foot Locker. It's basically the Foot Locker of the UK.
He's basically, because Boris said maybe he should go out once a day and also do exercise. That's the reason he's staying open, because people will need exercise stuff. He's a twat.
Well, didn't he say a few weeks ago that everything is fine, go out and go shopping?
Oh, that was your bloke, wasn't it?
I think it was yours too.
Oh, God.
In fact, I don't know who's more retarded, Boris or Trump.
Oh, Trump, definitely.
The competition is fierce.
Yeah, well, the thing is...
I was about to say one of them can string a coherent sentence together, but I'm not certain which one it is.
Well,
Yeah,
one of
but
them
at
can
the
at
same
least try and make an incoherent sentence in Greek. So,
well, at the same time, though, Trump used to be shrewd. Keyword is used to be.
No, he wasn't. He was never shrewd. This isn't a shrewd man. I've been trying to sort of coin this phrase a while now, and it really is simply this. Donald Trump has had so little recourse from his idiocy that he's really thought that it's actually a talent. This is the point with him. He has had this is affluenza in a nutshell. Somebody who is so looked after. So any idiocy that comes about from his life, he has minders to basically make it go away. He has now confused that idiocy with an actual talent. That's the best way to describe it.
It almost reminds me of who was that guy? Have you heard of a guy named Timothy Dexter?
No.
There was a salmonella video on him, but basically the guy was an idiot, but by sheer luck he kept getting more and more money. Like, in other words, he would do things that would normally bankrupt him, but by sheer luck it happened to give him profit.
What, like the producers?
No, like shipping shipping bed warmers to the Caribbean, a place that doesn't need bed warmers.
So how did he make his money then?
Well, basically, it's just a giant pan, so the people who are making rum used it as ladles for molasses fats. And bought the entire fucking shipment.
Fair enough.
You need money to make money, though. That's always seems to be the case.
Well, if you've got enough, you don't really even have to worry about that. It just sort of makes itself. This is not a man who thinks. This is a man who hires. This is a man who has people. I've got a guy to do this. I've got a guy to do that. His entire deal is just to look important.
God, even with Howard Schitz, at least he was a rags to riches story. Trump is just a riches to rags to riches to rags to riches to rags story.
To orange jumpsuit.
Was he arrested? I never heard of that.
He will be. It's a question. Let's be honest. Do you think, when he's finally voted out of office, because he has to be at some stage, how soon do you think the New York police are going to be locking him up? I mean, do you think he'll even make the inauguration of the next president?
He will be the first American president to only be called Mr. President by his staff.
It really does depend. Basically, if Joe Biden dies of
Oh, dear.
coronavirus, his
All right,
odds of
we're going
winning
here.
the
All right.
presidency are going to be very, very slim.
It just makes me think of Vadim's meme where he shows the Joe Mentum thing, and you have to guess which one Joe actually said out of all the dumb shit he said. Oh my god, I can't believe he's your only hope. I can't believe it. Bernie should have got it. But people
Completely
just-
confused by that. Didn't know what you meant there, mate.
Well, I'll show you. I'll show you.
Well, that's the only thing is that, truth be told, I do think that Joe Biden has a good chance, assuming he doesn't die from this disease, because this disease in of itself is going to tank the economy, and he kind of screwed the pooch on that one. Trump did.
This is what I was talking about. Whenever I think of Joe Biden, I think of this now.
Well,
plus, let's be honest, Joe Biden is the kind of guy who can say all the stupid shit in the world, and his followers still support him.
Yeah, but well, he has a good chance of winning the primary. All he has to do is not speak or appear in front of anyone till November, and hopefully people will vote for their memory of what they think he's like. That's pretty much it. If he goes out there and starts talking, that's going to be a lot of face palming.
Well, that's the problem, is that he said so many stupid shit, but people still support him, so I just don't think his supporters give a fuck.
Well, you could say that the same about the present incumbent, couldn't you?
They just say, oh, he's got a stutter. Oh, you're criticizing him. You're a Russian bot. That's all they do. That's what Biden.
They kind of deserve Trump for another 4 years, to be honest. They deserve him. And then when they're kind of going, you let us down, it's kind of no. You let yourselves down. I tell you what, go and join the Republicans if that's what you want, because that's what you need to do. Why don't you infiltrate the Republicans and take them over?
Bernie's the most qualified and best person for the job. It's unbelievable that people can't see that.
There were some inconsistencies, but I'm going to leave the conspiracies out of this. But needless to say, back to the whole coronavirus. Do you think that we should call it the bat flu? It seems like a happy medium.
Why?
Well, first off, it's catchy. Secondly, there's already bird flu, so why the fuck not?
Why don't we just call it what it is? The coronavirus. Why does it have to have a cliched name to make it sound nice?
Well, it's COVID-19, which is a kind of coronavirus, but you know.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Coronavirus is a very broad term. Like, there are plenty of colds out there that are coronavirus. It's just that this one happens to give a lot of people pneumonia, which old people struggle to fight against.
Well, so do most people with old people's one of the things about being old.
How the fuck? What the?
Oh
my god!
Chris is upset.
One of the things about being old is that your immune system starts to break down. Your body's not strong enough to fight infections. I mean, yes, Trump's right. People do die of the flu every year, but this is on top of those people. And
well,
also,
not only that, but the mortality rate's a lot higher.
Well, yeah, but there's also 8. I think the youngest I've seen die is 18.
Oh, it's getting everybody. From what I understand from most of the hospital reports, about 50% of the people coming in are very old, and the other 50% are everybody else. So all age groups. So half of them going in there are old age pensioners, and the other half are everybody else.
Do you want to hear something else?
There is a
similar death rates.
Like you can get reinfected after having the clear.
No, you can't.
Like, I've seen the news reports go around.
I know.
Oh my
you can't.
God.
That's not how viruses work.
Well,
Jesus
here's the
Christ.
thing with the.
You don't want to believe the mainstream media on everything, mate. And one of the things you really shouldn't believe them on is things that require knowledge. Because to be honest with you, the only thing that journalists really know is how to down a pint.
Well, the sad thing is that I've mostly listened to Thunderfoot when it came down to this.
Well, he's been sensible enough. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's put it into a numbers perspective, which I'm going to kind of paraphrase. But basically, here in California, they're projecting 50% of everyone's going to get infected, which seems reasonable. So let's assume, and the thing about California is that they are in massive lockdown. No groups higher than 10, no public gatherings, closure of all things, but yeah, you get the idea. So the problem is that assuming half the world gets infected, you're still looking at about 180 million people dying with the mortality rate that's going on. That is a massive number. People with the flu die of hundreds of thousands every year. This is the hundreds of millions. So that's why it's such a big deal.
I'm going to have to go now, so I shall see you guys later.
Enjoy your thing.
Take care, mate.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to call this stream a night. And that way I can do some food. Because we're hungry. So thanks everybody for coming. It's all right. Well, I'm not going to kill the Discord thing. I'll hand that over. But it just gives me a bit of time to start cooking some food. Thanks everybody for coming along. We'll probably do something in the next day or so. I don't know. I'm right now. Obviously, my entire month is basically closed. So most of the work that I was going to be doing has been called off. Don't know when it's going to come back. Psh, what are you going to do? So we're just finishing projects and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll probably start maybe one tomorrow, day after, something like that. We'll have to see. Anyway, much love to y'all. See you in a bit. Bye.